Hello and welcome to my combo lords. We are in a quite different setting, possibly, well, arguable to what degree we're in a different setting, depending on what degree you depend little tent-like shells of things as separating things or not, because we are in the combo classroom. May not look like it. We may not think that there would be room for a whole new type of realm in the combo classroom such as we have here. However, there is some interesting stuff. Oh, okay, we maybe came on a minute after, took us a moment to get there, but hopefully you can all see and hear me now. Welcome to a new type of stream for temporary. It's not like a new type of weekly stream, although we'll see in the future because I do enjoy camping. Today's stream is focused on a little journey into the combo classroom. A lot of C's going on, combo classroom camping chronology. And although we may not look like we're in the combo classroom, we are. If we look a little outside this tent, we can see, and I'm not sure to what degree you can see any of this stuff, but there's our staghorn fern. There's a clock, and it's not purely dark out, so maybe you can see the trees as well a little bit. And here in the combo classroom, illuminated by these little solar lights, which are pretty neat. These little things charged up in my yard in the daytime, collecting sun and telling it not to turn on because it had enough energy to collect some. And then once it got dark enough for it to stop collecting any, it not only told it to, it couldn't collect any, so it wasn't able to, but it told it to light up and use all the energy it had saved. So these are pretty neat, charged up in the front yard, and we'll try and put them somewhere hanging here maybe so that we have a little background illumination. That one can go in that pocket right back there. This one maybe we'll tuck on a zipper or something, and we'll just leave it hanging here for a minute. In any case, it will be getting dark here. We will have a few lanterns set up in here so there's any degree of seeability, and this will surely help, this lantern right here, a lot more than those little solar ones. But in any case, here in the combo classroom, you may not expect there to be enough room for us to set up a tent and do a little camping trip. But it turns out that there is when you're in a grade transition, because just like I have half of my beard at the moment, I also have half of my classroom clean, pretty much. The desk has done its last crumbling. Right here about would be where the desk was before. This part of the tent wouldn't have fit here due to the desk before. However, in a scene that I filmed for the finale this week, the desk did crumble and it came apart like butter. It was the last bits of the desk I touched. I flipped it one direction to try and move it out of the way, and it flipped just fine. And then I flipped it a second direction and touched it, and it kind of fell apart at all sides, like in a cartoon. You imagine a house's like walls all fall to the different sides. That's sort of what the tent did. Just touched it and it crumbled like butter. Or not the tent, the desk. And with that, we now have room for things like a tent, and we will have room for a new desk when grade -2 starts in early April. But since we have another week or two where I'm filming the finale out here, and part of what I filmed today was a field trip, and that was symbolic for the finale episode that I'm working on, not just because it's a field trip to something clock related, but also because it related to nature and to places where I used to love to hike, ride my bike, walk, all sorts of stuff, interact with birds and plants out at what you could call the marina type of area. There's this large, stretch of coastline of different sorts. And I wasn't able to do that because of the 2 surgeries I got last year. And in the past 2 years was probably the only time that I haven't been to certain parts of that marina within a year span in my whole life, maybe. Because there are some places that even, I probably went as a super little kid and then went on my own. Some places that I probably went every year of my life until I wasn't able to last year physically. But now that I am past those 2 surgeries and I am able to walk again, not saying I'm going to have a piece of cake time with my body. My body still has hard times with things, but I can walk. That is very nice. And it lets me interact with the nature again. And part of today's theme I was filming related to re-interacting with the nature that I love, and how now that I am in better shape than I honestly was when I started grade -1, because I hadn't gotten either of those surgeries yet when I filmed the intro of the combo class. Then I had to go through both of them over the course of making grade -1, and that's part of the arc that I'll explain a little more about in the finale episode. But since I was re-embracing in part of that, my ability to now go hiking to places I love, and how maybe we will now have more fun field trips at random moments during episodes next grade. But I remembered that one of my things that I missed out on nature-wise was also camping. And camping has many merits, so let me quickly go through a few things that are nice about camping. Some of them I'm not going to get here, one of which, for example, is you travel to new places sometimes, and you will see new types of wildlife you're not used to. That will be a little less the case here, although there could be some nighttime creatures I'm not used to. There have been times in the past where possums, skunks, even, skunks is probably the worst, possums, skunks, raccoons, stuff like that has wandered around the neighborhood in tribes at times and through our yard. So there's a good chance that we'll get some sort of visitor. I haven't heard them outside my room's window as much recently, so maybe it'll just be a squirrel or a cat visitor. I know Dandelion, the cat, was checking out this tent when I was setting it up and was quite curious, and a while ago, a couple years ago, when not in the combo classroom but in my front yard, I set up this tent and I slept in this tent in the front yard. My cats did sometimes come in and sleep with me out there. Now, camping not only gets you in touch with nice parts of nature by seeing the nature and by maybe distancing yourself from technology, forcing you to interact with things in a more fundamental way. There's something nice about building a campfire, or about similarly to how it can be nice to read a paper book, or how it can be nice to play a board game. So camping can bring you back to some good ancestral roots, and in fact, the campfire part of it, which I do have some wood over there, but I don't think I'm going to light it tonight. I think I'll do a campfire in a night or two, but I do have some wood. And because I might leave this tent here a couple days. We'll see. I'm at least sleeping here tonight. And with camping, although we won't get as much rare wildlife that I don't expect, and we also might not get quite as much distancing from technology, because I'm pretty close to my house right there. I'm probably going to be able to see lights not that far away, so it's not going to be like a very clear view of the stars or anything. Probably going to not be fully distanced from technology due to maybe filming a few clips of myself in here on my phone for my finale after the live stream. So it'll be a little more technological than some of my camping trips, and a little more right in the backyard as opposed to somewhere else. But you still get nice things with being outside in that tent in the fresh air. And I'm really looking forward to mostly waking up to the sounds of the birds. Having the bird sounds around as you slowly drift into awakeness, partially from the noises of the birds and partially from the sunlight starting to emerge, can be really nice. And so I thought that, maybe I'm not able to plan a whole camping trip right now this month. I like the idea of going out into the woods to camp, going backpacking or something. But I just recovered from these surgeries and I'm practically going on my first hikes. So I am going to plan a real camping trip, but it's going to be a little hard for me because I recently recovered from hip surgeries. So I figured, well, instead of telling myself, maybe I'll go camping in the woods somewhere this month, and then probably not doing it or any other type of camping, why don't we strike a compromise and sort of like having half a beard or half of your classroom cleaned so far. Maybe we can go half camping and we can camp right here in the combo classroom and get some of the good things, like that bird sound in the morning, that fresh air. And sometimes you do feel quite refreshed. It depends. You can sometimes get rocky nights of sleep camping, literally, due to the rocks under you. But you can also sometimes only get 6 or 7 hours and wake up surprisingly refreshed. Maybe the fresh air, maybe something else, not sure. So I highly recommend camping. I think that it would be really good for most humans at least once a year to sleep in a tent somewhere. Doesn't have to be brutal backpacking. You can go car camping where you park your car right next to your tent. You have a cooler of food right there in your car. You know, you can keep your phone as close as you feel obligated to mentally. But to some degree, trying to not rely on the phone or the car and just having them nearby can be, you know, a good, kind of like I'm halfway camping right now. You can go 3/4 of the way camping. Or you can go straight into the woods with a backpack, like I've done a few times as well. And that's also marvelous, but it requires a lot of planning and ready to be you need a lot of perseverance and planning when you go backpacking. But it's very fun also. So living here in California, there's a lot of really good nature. We're going to explore at some point in time, maybe in grade -5, I'll have funds to take us all over the world on quests for the rarest berries and finding the rarest birds. But that'll be great. We'll see if we can get there. For now, though, in grade -2, you know, I can slightly widen my scope. Instead of just the field trips being to my front yard instead of the combo class, we will have some field trips to other forests in California, as well as beaches and stuff like that. So, a lot of good nature in California. I have had probably gone camping on years that weren't the past couple years, due to a lot of reasons. On the average year of my life, probably go camping 2 to 4 times throughout the year. It's a really good thing for people to do, I think. Very refreshing. In fact, contrast can be great because not only will you appreciate the woods while you're out there, but you'll appreciate the city more when you come back. Then you go sleep in your bed, you go on your computer, and you're like, nice, bed, computer. You don't take it for granted as much. So, let me try and get a light enough zone where I can chill here and take a peek at our chat. Hello to everyone visiting here, and hello to the Magic Fellow, who is a moderator here as well and helps me with some stuff, including a puzzle challenge that he has been setting up on the Discord, which will, a little later in this stream, have a little shout out for the last people to solve them, as well as mentioning the next week's puzzle for anyone who wants to solve that. However, that's going to be most of the mathematical stuff we're talking about today. I'm sure it'll come up. I love numbers, but to those who are diehard waiting for the numbers, you might need to watch this morning's stream where I talked about some pi-related stuff, or you might need to make sure you've seen my final exam that I put out just a couple days ago on the Combo Class channel, which is my version of a final exam for grade -1 here. Don't worry, we're not done. We got a finale episode, and then we're going practically straight into grade -2. Grade -2 will have started before mid-April. It will start somewhere in the first week or two of April. Grade -2 will be starting. If not on the first day, maybe even. So, a lot of nice comments here. We will, at various points, have different camping-like experiences, because if I had planned this better, I could have had a campfire going in the background and even cooked dinner on a campfire. We can also cook dinner other camping-style ways, like you can get little propane-based stoves that are like a little gas canister that you can light to put a little portable, kitchenware on and cook. So we will explore different types of camping gear. And in fact, we'll maybe at various points in the future do some almost like tutorials or tips about ways to do things in the real world in the wilderness, because I think it would be good for some of you to know things like how do you build a fire, things like that. And someone's wondering if I'm in the mountains and raining. It's not raining here. I did put what you call the fly on the tent on the outside, which if it happens to rain will protect me from the rain, but I mostly put that on because it might protect the warmth a little bit. And love you too, to whoever said that, and to all of you. And someone's wondering why it's so dark. Right here, it is 7:50 p.m., so it just now got dark. In fact, you might be able to still see a little light. I can. So it's not pitch black out here. It is about to be. Not pitch black, because we will have moonlight and starlight, and unfortunately we will also just have window light from my neighbors. And it's actually not raining here, surprisingly. It was scoped out. The weather, when I checked it half a week ago, said it's going to rain for 2 weeks straight. I thought there was a day or two where I thought this camping trip wouldn't happen over the course of this month, even though I'd wanted it to. A day or two after I had decided let's go camping, that I looked at the forecast and it was going to rain for like 20 days in a row. And then for some reason they changed the forecast. They got some other meteorological info or whatever, and then they said it's only raining some of the days. And luckily yesterday and today it was not raining. It's a little muddy down here, but there's a tarp under this tent, so if there wasn't a tarp it would probably get wet at some point because it is muddy. But that tarp, hopefully mixed with the tent, will be good. Now, you will see more details about this little camping trip in the finale episode. Really, this stream is not like the camping special. That's more a scene in the finale episode I'm filming for the main Combo Class channel. This is just, I already was planning on doing a Thursday night stream, and I was like, you know, if I do it slightly later than usual, I can do it in the tent. That'll be fun. So this is just a little glimpse into a Combo Class camping trip, but for actually, you know, seeing me set up the tent and talk about it and stuff like that, that will be in the finale episode, along with the field trip I took today. I am really worn out because the place where I took a field trip to, me and Carlo, my main camera guy, got a ride there from my brother, and due to the circumstance working out, but then we were just there filming, and I was going to figure out a way for us to get back, and we ended up being like, let's just walk back. And it's a really long walk. I did not expect we would have walked either direction all the way there, because this isn't like a thing. It's a park very close to my house. It's kind of far. But we ended up not only walking all the way around there, but walking all the way back home, which is miles. So that wore me out a lot, but it's good to know that my legs can handle it. We'll see if, you know, I'm in weird pain tomorrow. Hopefully not. But my legs have only been partially ceramic and partially titanium for less than a year. So good to know they're handling it well. That's probably today not only the first time I'll be sleeping in a tent in more than a year, but probably the longest I've walked in a year today. So hopefully that wipes me out enough that I don't notice that this ground is going to be really bumpy to sleep on. I did bring a pad here, but it's going to be bumpy because I didn't fully work on flattening everything under here. Like I moved most of the stuff, but you know how there's a dice carpet on the ground? In fact, you can see it up close right here. You know how there's a carpet with little dice embedded into the ground right here and all over? Because I semi-accidentally and then in an increasingly purposeful way leave them out when it's really muddy and rainy, and then they get stepped on and embedded. And there's parts here where there's tons of them. And so it's not just dice, but sometimes you get like other things that are half embedded. And I know there's some like whiteboard markers and hourglasses, maybe a clock, some stuff like that that's still on the ground, probably under this tent. So it'll be a little bumpy, but hopefully today's journey's wiped out my body enough physically that we will sleep nicely and wake up with the birds. And as for what park, I don't really want to talk in too detail about what park it is, just because even though it's not close to my house, you know, it's in my general vicinity, but you may recognize it, and it's not in the hills, it's by the marina. And you may recognize the spot I went to if you go hiking in the Bay Area. And as for how my clock buying quest is going, I have good news for folks. It may seem like we've only been going downward in clocks. That was the case mostly for a little bit. However, not only have I fixed up some clocks so that some of the broken ones are going to be turned into new clocks, like homemade other, clocks of musical scales and stuff, but not gonna spoil all the details, but all I'll say is that I may have already bought a few clocks I didn't show you folks because I want grade -2's intro to contain some surprises. So that's all I'll say about that. Clock buying quest is going well, but some of them you may not get to see quite yet. So that's good, and that won't be the only thing different at the beginning of next grade. I've been preparing a bunch of stuff. It is a crazy month. It's transitional. I just quit the last of my private students at the beginning of this month to focus on combo class and stuff, and my physical recovery more, but also combo class mostly. And now we're switching grades. Everything's happening at once. In fact, this week was crazy. This week was like Monday I had a stream planned. I had to stream, and then I was like, I'm going to be back for another stream because I'm about to hit 100,000. But the day before, also, Sunday, I had shaved half my beard, and I was going to keep this a secret probably, and maybe do live streams that were just my voice or something. But then I wanted to live stream my face when I was hitting 100,000 on this channel. And so I was like, okay, funny timing. We're going to be live streaming the face, I guess. People are going to get to see it. And so then I was like, okay, we're going to do all these live streams. Live stream that. Went to a thing for Pi Day with half a beard. Went to all over the marina today like that. Set up the tent. And it's a busy week. In fact, we are still flying upward in subscribers. It is going wonderfully. We are at 103,000. It's crazy. We just passed 100. There are 3,000 more of you here. Now, the thing is, out of those 3,000, probably 1,000 of them, or maybe not that much, but some portion of them only subscribed because they liked a short they saw, and they're going to end up unsubscribing when they see enough math ranting or something like that. Like, some of them saw a short I made about nature or something and don't like math that much. They're probably going to end up unsubscribing at some point when they hear enough math rants. But, out of those 3,000 subscribers, I bet half of them will end up sticking around and becoming utter combo lords. So, welcome to all of the new folks who happened to fall here from the stream page. It's where a lot of the people landed here from. So wherever you came from, welcome. And whoa, Magic Fellow was right on not the time, but the day. Good job to the Magic Fellow. That's a great guess because I thought it was going to be a couple days later, but you predicted how fast the combo army can grow. And someone's wondering about a squirrel visit. Quite likely. And the squirrels have been all around. We've already gotten footage of them in the finale. And I got footage of a lot of rare birds today. You're going to have to wait to see in the finale, but there's a lot of types of bird that there's footage of me walking by today. And what looks like a lot of different types of climate, because we wandered around a bunch. And as for who wondered why half a beard, well, I'm only going to give my brief explanation for now. Once again, a lot of the stuff I'm doing this month is for a possibly up to an hour-long documentary-like finale, just like season finale, not like ever finale, of Combo Class on the main Combo Class channel. And so you'll get to see me actually shave it then. I filmed myself shave it and cut it. And you'll get some more details. So all I'll say for now is that some people wanted me to cut it. About half of the people wanted me to cut it. Half of the people didn't want me to cut it. So I averaged all of your votes, and I cut half of it, starting from this side. So we also, if you only notice the beard, I also cut off about half this side of the head of hair, just with scissors without looking. my friend was filming me, and we didn't have a mirror or anything. She was just filming the thing while I just went at it with scissors, and yeah, close enough is what I'll say. And Magic Fellow says an hour, and I'm not sure it'll be that long, but I'm almost sure it'll be more than half an hour, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was an hour. It's gonna have a lot of flashbacks. It has some flashbacks you haven't seen from this grade and before this grade that are super crazy footage. It has a lot of cool footage I just want to show that I've been taking this month. Like, it was crazy windy here a day or two ago, and I got the most insane footage where, like, one thing after another is just falling down all over the classroom, just like from the wind. And there's going to be some semi-ranty discussions where I go into some stories that I've somewhat skimmed by in streams, and this, I can't fit everything in this, so it's not going to be about some of the other things that almost will have their own documentary. Someday there'll probably be an hour-long episode about the time I almost died slightly over 2 years ago. This is not about that. I mentioned it very briefly. This is about going through 2 surgeries and making a show while interacting with the 4 elements. So themes of this are ability to walk again, the 4 elements, plants and animals and clocks, of course, some philosophy, and some stories and stuff like that. So I'm not sure how long it's going to be, and I'm not sure exactly when it's coming out, but it'll be out late in March. It'll be more than 20 minutes, probably more than 40 minutes, possibly more than an hour, and it'll be cool. It's not, like I said, it's not like a math lesson like some of my things are, so it's still, I'm trying to make it somewhat movie-like, and so I really hope all of my fans watch it all. It's important to me. So, you know, at some point, no rush, at some point, watch all the way through, because it is going to be an important documentary for me to release. So, someone's wondering if I've gone camping before. I mentioned this a little earlier, but yes, I'm a huge fan of camping. It's been a little while for many reasons I discussed, but I have gone camping somewhere around 50 times in my life. So, I love camping. So, that is most of the comments right here. What we can look at for a moment is a small clue at what's going on behind this tent, just to give you a little visual of where we actually are, because this might seem like distanced from the combo class. Like, for all the new people coming in the stream, no, maybe I'm faking this, maybe I'm in my room, maybe this isn't a tent. Just kidding. I'm an overly honest person, and I can be brutally honest. In fact, if I tell you I'm camping, I'm definitely camping. And to give a little perspective, though, this is a relatively large tent. It's not like a massive tent, but this could easily fit 2 or 3 people, and it's like a sizable tent. I'm not sure what size it's built for, but you could fit 4 people in here if you needed. Probably 3 would be a lot more comfier too. But, you know, you got room in this tent, so it's like, how'd this fit in the combo classroom? Well, it's going to be hard to see all this stuff, but here we got a little campfire I might light in a day or two. It's more wood. And back there, I'm not going to shine the light on as much, because that is where a lot of broken desky trash is that is going to need to be fixed. Here we do have my whiteboards. So we got whiteboards over here. And we got blocks. And yes, we just cleared out the entire center of the combo class. There's still that planter in the back. And there's still the clocks on the wall. And I'm not sure how well you could see any of that. So hopefully any of that was visible. So, also, by the way, about the long combo class finale to note, then a week or so, 1 to 2 weeks after that, will be coming the grade -2 intro, which will just be a pretty quick intro, just, you know, sort of almost like the last scene of the finale, but I want to release it separately as its own little thing, just showing you what the new classroom is going to look like, basically, and a couple fun little gags and stuff. Then we're going to jump right back into cool math stuff, because for people who do want my epic math stuff, we'll be doing that on this bonus channel this month here. I still think of it as the bonus channel, but on the Domotro channel this month. And we will get back to the super awesome, like deep, new, crazy, mind-blowing types of math that I want to make whole 10 or 20-minute episodes about. That, you know, not my ranty streams here, or even my one-take videos here, but like the combo class episodes on that channel. And I have so many topics that didn't fit in grade -1 that I'm really excited to do in grade -2. So we will be jumping right back into the math after we get our little bit of philosophy out of the way for our transitional shift. So, someone's saying nature and math go hand in hand, and I believe that that should happen more. They do go hand in hand, but you don't see math channels out in nature that much. You know, like, someone let me know if you can think of a math channel that more than half of their videos take place outdoors. I can't think of a single one. I mean, maybe ones that visit outdoors in more than half of their videos, but like, what is a channel that's math-based that more than half of the footage takes place outdoors? I can't think of a single one. Combo class. But, so, I think it should go more hand in hand. Not only is nature mathematical in many ways, but there are other ways in which they clash beautifully and provide what the other doesn't. Math can add a little bit of concrete objectivity, and nature sometimes can add some beauty that's hard to explain, that just creeps around naturally, and maybe, you know, gives you that other type of vibe that the math can't always describe. Someone's wondering, saying, my audience likes long videos, so don't worry about cutting out too many details. I do appreciate that. In general, I do try, since I have that channel for my, quote, full episodes, and this channel for a bunch of bonus videos that, if you don't pay that much attention to the pace and the editing, some of the videos on here seem kind of similar to the other channel. Usually one of the differences is that on the combo class channel, I try and keep it a little faster paced. And on this channel, I don't worry as much about taking my time and doing one long take, even if there's a little bit of ums and stuff here and there. So, to a degree, this is a little more my uncut, raw, you get all of the stuff I say channel, and the combo class channel is a little more, I go back in editing and try and make it extra catchy for someone who may or may not be a fan. But for the finale, don't worry, I will not cut out too many details. But there's a lot of footage, so I'm not going to use all 10 hours of footage. So I'll find a way to cut it down so it's the good mix of not rushed, but not boring. So one thing I want to do more in future grades is, one fun thing about field trips is I want to like bring a whiteboard down by some area in nature, and then for every couple minutes of filming, move down 50 feet in nature, and you'll have a slightly different backdrop. And so I think that my videos will be extra digestible, the ones where I rant a longer time, if the backdrop is moving a little more. Because visual stuff can be important, you know. I love reading books, but when I make videos, you have to keep in mind they're not just a book. There's the knowledge, there's the creativity, and some of that creativity has to be visual. Even some of the knowledge sometimes has to be visual. So, thank you all for the random thoughts and additional comments. Cool recommendation of a documentary. I might check that out. Marcus du Satoy, or however you pronounce that. I have read some things from. I haven't seen the documentary, but I've read some stuff from him that was great. And somebody's wondering about the spaces between the numbers called weird numbers. And you know, I find it quite weird and interesting as well. I have not yet gotten to the bottom of that rabbit hole as for why it goes from, and look, here's how much I accidentally know about these guys called weird numbers. I'm pretty sure the next one after 70 is 836. Someone let me know if it's something slightly different, but I think it goes 70, then 836. And weird numbers are something I've mentioned that's a... What I love about weird numbers is not only are they called weird numbers, which is just like fun. I like when mathematical names have a little character to them. But then the definition of weird numbers that you'll often hear contains just like more layers of nicknames. It doesn't answer it. It almost gives you more puzzles to crack, because the common way you'll see a weird number defined, which is true if you also know these nicknames, is that a weird number is a number that is abundant but not semi-perfect. And you're like, whoa, I thought you were trying to explain weird numbers. Now I need to know what abundant numbers are and what semi-perfect numbers are. But really, an abundant number means a number whose divisors apart from itself add up. Proper divisors, meaning your positive factors that aren't you. Proper divisors of a number add up to more than it, makes it abundant. And if any subset of the proper divisors adds up to the number, it's called a perfect number. And, oh man, my battery's kind of low. I was thinking I might be able to just stream until the battery crashed, but it takes a lot of power to stream. So I may have to, unfortunately, run inside for one last time to grab that before I head for the final time back out into the combo classroom. So bear out here for a moment, folks. It's gonna just be an empty tent for a minute, and I just need to run and get the charger, because then we can hang out and chat a little longer. So I need to get my shoes on too right here. Camping's its whole little game. You got different things you got to incorporate into your mindset. Although, like I said, we were half camping, so this is probably the only time I'm going to be simultaneously thinking about two tent situations and where my computer charger is. Usually when I camp, I try not to use too much technology, but this is, for this half for the sake of camping and half for the sake of the finale. So I'll be back with that charger in a sec. Okay. Let's see how far this can stretch. this cord. Alright, we are going to have to put the computer on a chair over here. We'll get a chair. All the chairs are stacked. Okay. Here's the darkness. Here we go. Thank you to anybody who hung around and waited through our little charger getting. And now we're going to have a weirder angle. You'll be looking down on me in the tent, but that's okay. And hello to any combo lords who are still around. So, someone's wanting to go to do a group theory lesson related to fields in a field. I will probably do something along those lines someday. I've always loved all the different names for your groups, fields, rings, and there's other ones called like a magma and a monoid and all these things, one of which is a field. We will certainly talk about fields. Fields are quite important all over, and groups, and a lot of the stuff we're talking about is sort of like, there's group theory secretly going on in a lot of what we're talking about. Group theory relates to these fundamental tables of interactions that are created when you have a certain amount of possible little symbols you can use, and some of them have roles as identity elements and things, and you have a little table of the interactions of what causes what. And we've seen things like that when I make my mod tables, like mod 3. And we've seen things like that when we look at imaginary numbers and what power you'd raise them to, how it sort of goes in a cycle. Like if you imagine what happens when I multiply different combos of, 0, 1, and I, and -1, and things like that, and various tables that can emerge, will re-show up in group theory lessons someday. So I'll definitely do group theory. It's a pretty big scale one, so don't worry if it comes later, because it will tie many things together. Like, for example, turns out that there's similarities to the way the roots of unity hop and to certain mod groups. And you can look into the groups to see which ones share what fields or which ones are secretly the same. Now, it's very interesting, another comment noted, that the moon happens to be the similar distance, not similar distance as the sun, but the right distance where the ratio between the moon being smaller and it being closer makes them look a similar size. So that's pretty wacky, and it does make me wonder whether that is a coincidental-ish thing, or whether life is for some reason less sustainable on a planet that doesn't have a moon. I don't know. It guess like the moon wouldn't help us out that much. Maybe a coincidence. And someone wants a list of my recommendations of math channels. I will make a longer list in the future, but I have shouted out my very top favorites, which I will do again. The greatest math channels, in my opinion, of I'll call them my personal favorites, because there are others that are great that I would like to put on a list someday. But some of the all-time greats are definitely 3 Blue 1 Brown, Mathologer, Stand Up Maths, Number File, and to whatever degree you'd consider it math, Vsauce. And my personal all-time favorites, just personal favorites, would probably be, in general, I have a soft spot for Vsauce because that's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, YouTube channels. He's made so many cool videos. But in terms of just math stuff, my favorite would probably have to be Mathologer. Very close almost tie given to 3 blue, 1 brown. And then a very close almost tie behind that to the guy's stand-up maths. And if we are allowed to include other works by these people, I am tying stand-up maths with 3 blue, 1 brown because he has written some cool books, Matt Parker, who runs that channel. And so there's also books written by the Mathologer guy, but just in general, those Mathologer videos are so well done. However, if you like visual stuff, then you'll probably like 3 blue, 1 brown more. If you like computer type visuals. If you like pure math that's sort of almost like studying from a textbook, but with some YouTube silliness mixed in, then you want Mathologer. But you want all of them. And what you really want is Combo Class Grade -2, because we're going to have such cool stuff in there. So someday I will consider myself to be the greatest math channel. We will get there. But I am realistic and know there are some people who have put in a lot of work, and I am not yet a better math channel than Mathologer or 3 blue, 1 brown, at least by the scope of work, because I've only been at this, like a year. I've had a lot of projects in my life, but I've only been at this one for like a year so far. So there will come a time when I consider myself to have gotten to be the greatest math channel, hopefully. Now, examples for identities. You're showing minimums and maximums and logical ands and logical ors. Those are all interesting ways that we might use things in abstract algebra or other fields to have traits like that. And most simple example of identities that people are used to would be that 1 doesn't change things under multiplication and 0 doesn't change things under addition. So 0 is considered the additive identity and 1 is considered the multiplicative identity. And in many I like to use, by the way, just to let you folks know, you may have heard me call things a realm. And I sort of used that term because field, group, ring, all of these have very specific connotations. And when I say realm, I purposefully did it to be one that just happened to not be chosen to already mean a specific thing. So to me, realm is a vaguer sort of, what's a realm of numbers that you could have? And there's many ways you could interpret that. But many realms that you may invent may require you to have an additive and multiplicative identity, and may even require there are different elements, because you can run into problems if you try and make the element that doesn't change things under addition and multiplication be the same number. So often when you have things like the fields we were discussing, you'll spot 0 and 1 having a high importance. And someone's wondering if I've been playing around with ChatGPT 3.5 or 4. I played around with whatever the most recent update as of about 2 weeks ago was. So if they've re-updated it since the past 2 weeks, I'll try it again sometime. If you mean whatever they had like 2 weeks ago, yeah, that thing is comically bad. I'm going to make another video. At some point, I'll compile the best ones I've gotten from the shorts in a video. Because, the best ones I've gotten from the live streams, I already made a short with some of them. But then people were like, they updated it. So I tried again, it's just as bad. And so comically bad that it almost looks like someone programmed it to jokingly give you bad answers. Because if you randomly were copy pasting from Wikipedia with your eyes shut, I feel like you'd have a better rate of not contradicting yourself, of not saying logical non sequiturs that make no sense in what you're proving, not claiming really confidently false things. So it was so comically bad. Do not use that if you are studying for a test. You will get half your answers right. And the other half, your teacher is going to make you try and explain what you were even thinking, because they're going to be so out of left field that if you copied what it said, your teacher is going to be like, hey, I'm just wondering why you said that the number 7 is the only 2-digit square number. It's not 2 digits or square. And you'd be like, oh, I meant. So let's see. And other people are making other good recommendations. Those are cool too. All of the people being recommended. I love that people make math content on YouTube. It's just something I like digesting. So I'm a fan of anyone who does that type of thing. And I'll make a longer list of recommendations sometime. One more I'll throw out, an underrated one. There was a YouTube channel called PBS. It was like run by PBS for some reason, but on YouTube, called PBS Infinite Series. And that got canceled or whatever, and that they don't make any more episodes on there. It was like some funded season or two from PBS. But they had a bunch of really good episodes. Very well done. Not every single one of theirs was perfectly done. I wouldn't hold them on as high of a standard as the ones I mentioned. But some of their videos were really well done at presenting some topics. People would have fun with that. I also like this guy, Zach Starr, who makes. Sometimes he just does like comedy skits, but he does math videos a bunch of the time about little puzzles and stuff. About like, how can you prove the answer to this weird little puzzle? And things like that. So someone says you have to pay $20 a month and then you can have access to the new one. I'm good because when ChatGPT 2 was out or whatever, people were like, number 3 is really good at math. And it was so bad that I don't have high hopes for 4 being better. I'm not going to give them $20 to prove that 4 is just as bad. I would do it if they had some bargain, if I could say, I'll give you the $20 and you give it back to me if your computer gets less than half of the answers right. And then I would be willing to take the bargain. Cool. Someone mentioned some other good videos that are probably good. I do like those people, Sabina Felder and Hofsenfelder. And I don't know her quite as well, but she's done some really good math videos I've seen, although I haven't seen as many. And Tom Scott's cool. He does various historical stuff. All these ones that people are mentioning are cool. And yeah, I want to in the future try and collaborate with some more random math channels. Obviously, like many mathematicians, one of my dreams is to someday present on Numberphile. I want to get in touch with Brady from Numberphile someday because I have that. He's one of the only people who could get the topics that I'm saving for like grade -3. I have like some topics that are like so interesting to me that I've gone so far down the rabbit hole or that I made personal discoveries in or stuff that I'm like, I probably won't even be ready to present this until grade -3. Or if the guy from Numberphile contacts me, I'll get it ready for him. So, apart from that, I would love to collaborate with some of those other people someday. That would be fun. I feel like if I invite anyone into the combo classroom, I'm gonna like accidentally Eric Andre show them. Some clock's gonna fall on them. They're gonna sink into the mud. But honestly, that'd be kind of funny to invite some like suit and tie type mathematicians back here and be like, this is what I call math. And someone's also recommending Jan Misali, which, yeah, I haven't seen a ton of his videos, but what I've seen, I highly related to. Also a big fan of Base 6, so I highly related to some of it, so definitely going to watch more of that at some point. And someone said they'd love to help me make some. I'm not sure what they help me make some what's, they're not sure. However, if people do ever want to help me out, they can, if they think genuinely that they have a way that they might be able to contribute to the show, because I can always use help. I'm still building a team. You can email me at combouniversity@gmail.com. And that's the same contact link that's on the page. Some people said they couldn't find it. I think that if you're on a phone weirdly, it doesn't show the way that contact links are hidden on the about section so that robots can't spam you, where you have to click I'm a human, and it looks really random and dumb, but it actually is good because then like I get less spam from robots. So with that, you can reach out to me there, but you might have to make sure it's on the computer if you have to get the contact link, because it might not work on the phone. Someone said visuals for the videos. And yeah, I'm always interested in talking about stuff like that. I do want to have various other sorts of visual things in my videos. I have been working to a degree with an animator on one little project, but I definitely have room in my video plans for other sorts of animations and things like that. And so mostly I want my videos to still take place in our combo classroom or other cool outdoors zones usually, but we will have more little cutscenes of animations at times to demonstrate, one little point I'm making. We may cut to an animation for 30 seconds more often. So if anybody, knows anything about cool visuals of any sort, probably animation or anything editing related, really, or visual, definitely reach out at that email. I'm happy to talk. And yeah, like someone mentioned, 3 Blue 1 Brown made the code he uses public. It's called Manim, and a lot of other people updated it and added to it, which he likes. And he wants, to spread the ability for people to make cool mathematical animations. And because he made his code public and because he makes such good videos, he has dominated an entire style on YouTube. There are a bunch of channels I've seen that have just a few math videos on them, and they're good, but they look exactly like 3 Blue 1 Brown, which is okay if you just want to make a good math video. Might not work if you want to end up, being the top channel to just have someone else's visual. But if you just want to make a good math visual and your goal is, I want to visualize this concept, Manim is great. That is actually what one animator who I've been working with on one little project is using. So, by the way, I'm a huge fan of those people. I support their Patreons, so I'm going to make a little note that if anyone wants to support me similarly, there is a combo class Patreon with cool bonus footage and stuff. Just mentioning that because I actually donate a small amount each month because I don't have much money, but I like to have them have a larger number of people supporting them, and every little dollar helps. So I donate a tiny amount each month to the Patreons of pretty much all those people I mentioned: Stand Up Maths, Number File, Mathologer, Zach Starr. I also donate a few bucks to, who I mentioned, and 3 Blue 1 Brown. And so I'm huge fans of those people. And someone in the comments mentioned the black pen, red pen guy. He's cool too. I've seen some of his stuff. Maybe I need to find like the right video by him, but sometimes, don't mean this as a diss, but like I get a little bored by the type of people like him and like Michael Penn and like other people like that who are really smart, awesome what they're doing, but their videos are often one long take of them at a whiteboard, sort of along the lines of when I show math in one of my streams. There's many ways they're better mathematicians than me, so don't get me wrong. This isn't I'm not trying to put them down. They're really smart. There are many ways they're smarter than me. How in terms of pure mathematical knowledge. But to be honest, I prefer videos that are a little more jumping from one thing to another, adding in different facts, showing them in different ways. And to me, the channels I've seen that can make a 30 or 40 minute masterpiece that is really dense but has a whole 30 or 40 minute arc, which is its whole like top of the craft challenge, are 3 Blue 1 Brown, Mathologer, and probably Vsauce can make those long ass good videos. So I don't think we're approaching an information singularity. I would have to give a longer story another day about, how I would feel about that possibility of what that means in the further future, but I do not think that's going to come very close. I think some people overrate how much technology will change reality. I do think there will be really weird, crazy stuff AI and other computer stuff can do in 10 years, but remember how people kept saying there was going to be flying cars, and then there was other technology that infiltrated our life, but we weren't in flying cars. So, I don't think that people are going to be like plugged into a machine in the next 20 years or something. I think that more people will be a little more addicted to phones and computers will have taken more people's jobs. But I don't think we're going to hit like an information singularity in the next 100 years at least. And someone also mentioned that Numberphile has other channels on other topics, and I love that the guy does that. Brady isn't a mathematician. He's learned a lot of math at this point, but he almost represents the viewer asking questions. And so he runs tons of channels about different things he wants to make documentaries in, and just turns out that the math one did the best. Now, once again, not a diss to those guys. If for some reason Black Pen, Red Pen, or Michael Penn, which is ironically ends in pen but has a name with two N's, if either of those pen fellas happen to be listening to this, I would love to collaborate with you. You are awesome. Thanks for what you're doing. So, I'm sorry. I'm the type of guy who will, like I said earlier, I'm brutally honest. So, you can trust me, but you can also, you know, my friends know that I may roast them from time to time, and they are allowed to roast me back. Another one that's good that I would just like to shout out that doesn't have as many videos, but there's one called Aleph Zero, or sometimes that in math is pronounced Aleph Not, but Aleph and then the number 0. That is a cool channel that has less videos, but I really like the look of. And there are other ones. Someone mentioned Tibby's. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name there, but I do like her channel. She goes over cool, weird old tests and stuff like that, and weird historical things from books and institutional tests and stuff. And those are interesting videos. Cool. I love all the recommendations. This stream, if anyone ever is bored and has already, you know, hit your fill on the combo class you can digest for the week, this stream chat is going to have a lot of good recommendations. Now, I do have other recommendations I'll give over time because I'm honestly a big fan of YouTube, and I think that's part of what makes me do better on here than some people is that I genuinely like YouTube, so maybe I know some things about what I would like to see. Some people, I'm worried, try and make a YouTube channel, but what they really watch is other stuff. They watch some TV show, or they watch, you know, Netflix movies or this or that. And maybe you should try and create the thing you enjoy. You'll know a little more about what makes that enjoyable for others. So, luckily to people who like the YouTube-ish feel of my videos, the slight homemade nature and other aspects that make it YouTube-ish, I do plan on continuing those even as I up my production quality because I'm a huge YouTube fan. I think that YouTube is doing great things for math. The guy, and science and learning and all sorts of stuff, the Mathologer guy, has published some videos that contain a proof type thing that he came up with, that he invented, that most people would publish in the form of a paper. But he likes making YouTube videos, so he puts them out that way instead. And if I ever have, and there are some that I already have to a degree come across, whenever I have things I want to show you that I've purely discovered, and if I ever find something that's worthy of a whole paper, the paper would be secondary to me. And first I'd be like, how are we going to make a good combo class video explaining this? But I do like writing too, and I will also be writing books over time. I am still planning on jumping headfirst during grade -2 into turning some of my Threven notes about Threven and Throd numbers into more final text that could be for a Threven's book. I also will be working on some of my fiction books that are mathematical, but they're not to teach math. They're fiction books, but if you like me and you like math, you'll have a much higher chance of liking them. So, someone's saying, where am I? It's not on topic, but it is good to get us back to the bigger topic. You're asking sort of the bigger topic than what we were chatting about. We were chatting about YouTube, which is in my opinion, despite their flaws, I'm not going to say they're perfect. YouTube, has done problematic things to creators before. I want them to be my ally. I'm totally here for being allies with YouTube if they want. I'm fine if they even are my boss to a degree, because they could be in the future where I get a decent amount of my money if we end up getting enough views for, the ad dollars to actually add up to much. And so I want YouTube to be my ally, and they seem to be liking me enough to show my video on people's home screens sometimes, so they're helping us get here. We're allies so far, I guess. In fact, you gotta wait a while for them to go through that thing where they send you a plaque when you get 100,000. You get that silver button thing. And although I'm not a materialistic guy, and I'll feel very cheesy showing it to someone, because I'll feel like if I show someone like something I won, it's like, but I don't want my personality or like my accomplishments to be tied to an institution. I just want to explain that my videos got a lot of views or something. But so I'll feel weird with the materialistic aspect of it. But secretly, I'll admit, I'm going to be really proud to get that thing when they finish, getting back to me on that, of how you get it mailed to you. Secretly, I'll be very proud because I've been watching YouTube my whole life, and I've seen people get those things, and I always thought I would get one of those things someday. And I didn't think when I started combo class it would be in grade -1. So, awesome. And oh yeah, I didn't answer the question. Where am I is the bigger thing, because the stream's about camping. And where I am is in what you could call my backyard, but typically is my classroom. And we are in the shift between last grade's classroom to next grade's classroom. And it turns out to be the week of the year when there will be a tent-sized amount of room back here. Oh, is that a cat? Dandy. Dandelion. Oh, I hope Dandelion visits. Dandy. Oh, is he on the other side of all that junk? Dandy. Where are you? Come over here. Oh, I really hope we get a cat visitor. That'd be so cool. So we will do more camping on various times, but this is the only time this year probably we're going to be able to do it, because there's going to be a desk where this tent is in 1 to 2 weeks. I haven't gotten the desk yet. I'm going to figure out a way to get a used desk, because, get whatever I can for free or cheap, because then I can spend my minimal amount of money on things like clocks. And where am I physically? It looks like a mine shaft. It's a tent back here. So let me try and show one more look at what's going on here. We got tent land with that little lanterny thing as well. And back here, we got whiteboard land and clock land. And I don't know how well you can see it, but my combo classroom is back there. Now, it's okay if you can't fully see it, because I intended this stream to be mildly mysterious. I intended at first, for you not to get to see any of this, because this is part of the finale. I set up this tent in the finale, and there'll be even more camping stuff in there. However, I realized that if I'm going to do a Thursday stream anyway, why not get a little sneak preview? All of my stream gang who catches the streams they get a little sneak previews. That's how it works. So, someone's also recommending Reddit pages. Those are great. I will note that if you want a math forum that's really good, this one called math.stackexchange. Sounds very random, but this math sector of what's called Stack Exchange, very intelligent math forum. So that would be my highest one for the math recommendation. However, I'll admit, outside of YouTube and Wikipedia and like Desmos and OEIS and all those math sites that I go on, outside of the sites that you see me go on stream, the site that I most frequently go on is probably Reddit. I don't use much social media, but that's kind of fun to scroll through for random memes and stuff and funny things that happen in the world, little random videos and stuff. So I do, scroll through Reddit here and there when I'm in that type of lazy, like, gonna be on some app the way some people use Instagram or TikTok or whatever. And so with that I love Reddit, but you got to be careful that on the math ones it's hit or miss. But there are a lot of hits. So just like, don't. I would honestly trust it a little less than I trust Wikipedia. People's answers on the subreddit are going to be a little less chance of being accurate than Wikipedia would be, which is a little less chance than a full paper. However, if you take everything with a grain of salt and you're like, okay, I'll double check this if I want to look it up. I'm not assuming it's true. I'm using it as a way to learn possibilities, to learn about what connections I might want to look up in the future, or what topics I didn't think about yet. Then it's great. So all of those subreddits, definitely check out. I'm not sure how much I've been on all of them, but I've definitely been on r/math. And I've also been on r/math memes. I'm not the biggest pop culture guy, but they got some good math memes on there. So I need to look into how, if there's any chance I could get in trouble for that, of like any copyrighty stuff. But I kind of want to do on a stream sometime going through the top posts ever on the math memes subreddit, because they have some good ones on there that I feel like some people wouldn't get them unless I explain them. But they're good. Oh, and someone says Numbers Aplenty. Very good site. Very good website to look up facts about a random number. Really like that website for look up a random number fact. So, yeah. Magic Fella says, if you see a math-related thing with the division symbol, you know it's going to devolve into a PEMDAS debate about, no, you put the division always goes first. No, that top part, where it's so. Now, here's the thing about those debates, and I will actually, at some point, make an episode about this. This is a thought I've had before. I want to do an episode about how dumb those posts online that are like 1 plus 0 over 2 plus 1. What is it? 99% don't know this. Because they are ambiguous. You could be phrasing it so that the top half's supposed to be part of a fraction, or you could be phrasing it so that a different chunk of it's supposed to be part of a fraction. There's a way to write it with parentheses, or to just write it as one fraction. You don't need the division sign. Make it one fraction or a separate fraction in parentheses. And so there's a way to write all of those things so they're not ambiguous. But all of those posts just write it in an ambiguous way, and then everyone goes to the comments saying, this is correct. No, that's correct. No, this is correct. And it's like, guys, it's vague enough that you're both right. Stop trying to tear each other down. You're both right. It's vague enough. So, I want to make a video about that someday. Oh, and someone else mentioned another YouTuber called Up and Adam. She is really good too. Run by someone named Jade. She makes super good math and science videos too. I actually really like that channel. Someone's wondering whether math proves or disproves whether there could be some higher intelligence such as a programmer. I don't think the math we currently have proves or disproves that. I think it's a wonderful hypothesis that we shouldn't invest too much trust in either side. We shouldn't be too sure either way. That you shouldn't be sure that we're not programmed or that we are. But, I'll go into that more in the future about the possibilities of us being programmed, which is a possibility, but that I don't think math currently proves in any way. So, and yes, another common argument is whether the natural numbers include 0. That one is a brutal one. There are some arguments like that are purely semantic, and yet people are very committed to their semantic way being the right way. And part of what is annoying about all that is that if you have the lowest scale of knowledge about math, then you might have something wrong. If you have a medium scale of knowledge about math, you might correct that because you've learned something else. And then if it's something about the name something's given, or what's included in a name, or how you interpret a string of things we've written, then it's different in different regions. And if you're medium smart at math, and different times of history, if you're medium smart at math, some people are like, nope, I learned it this way, and I've read it in a book, I'm sure that's the right way. So that is the right way. And it actually is having a very narrow-minded look at both the world's different regions and at history. Because all the stuff you're addicted to being correct is not true on the other side of the world or 100 years ago where you are. And it's gonna change again. It hasn't gotten just fixed for the first time in history. It's gonna change and evolve. And so when you use the language part of the math, because math is inherently going to need language to convey, then arguing about what a string of symbols means in terms of what name you should interpret to it is purely semantic, and anyone with a big enough scope would know the goal should be to make the viewer understand. That's the goal. The goal is not to have some way that, since you learned it in a textbook, you make sure nobody else in history ever changes it to a different way. The goal is to make the viewer understand. So, that's why, for example, if I wrote a book that included something about natural numbers, I would make sure to clarify which one I'm doing, maybe even put the type of symbol where you write the N with either like a 1 or 0 conveying where it started. And one thing related to that is I want to make up a nickname someday. I'm still thinking in my head about what the right nickname is, but I'm going to come up with a nickname at the right time for whole numbers 2 and larger. Because there's a lot of times where we have to say, this thing is the only whole number except 1 that does this. Or all whole numbers except 1 do this. And so I feel like it would be really handy to have a nickname for the whole numbers 2 plus. Which you can write if you put a little addendum to the N symbol when you're actually writing the slightly more official way. So we will get into that stuff later about, logically what types of things should include 0. But remember that where I come from, we're going to question all of the stuff, and we are going to figure out what the best way to convey the point to any current and possible future people are. And so sometimes I will use a different term. I made up the word hyper-11 for what some call a generalized rep unit, because I feel like hyper-11's not only shorter than that whole thing, which if you just call it a rep unit, it's not quite clear enough. Hyper-11 kind of means generalized rep unit. And so I feel like hyper-11 conveys a string of 1s to the viewer, and they remember what I mean by the second time I say it. Where I feel like if I kept going on about generalized rep units, not as catchy, not as easy to sink in the brain. So I like nicknames, and I like using whatever terminology makes the point digest well. So, who cares if you use PEMDAS or not? If you write your thing correct, it will be not ambiguous. You do have to use the aspects of PEMDAS that are like multiplication and division happen like. But PEMDAS is so dumb. It makes it sound like when you first learn it that PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, then division. Nope. It's multiplication and division at the same time as you go through it. Then it's addition and subtraction at the same time as you go through it. So when you first encounter it, it looks like you're doing them in more order than you are. And someone had a thought that 2 and upward could reference that they don't include the identity elements, and that's true. I was thinking that a good name for them would be along the lines of things that cross my head, and the nickname is not going to come out in the stream right now. This is something I will put more thought and I have notes on, but something along the lines of the fact that they're successors numbers. They are successors beyond our unit, and something that related to natural. So I almost wanted to call them like organic numbers or something, but that felt weird because 1 feels organic as well in a way, but something along those lines of like rolling with the vibe of natural, So a lot of good new posts. Someone's mentioning something they posted on a subreddit asking about different fields. Sounds interesting. And I don't think, to the other question, that Gödel's incompleteness theorem, which I haven't gone into yet, but I will in an episode, shows that Goldbach's conjecture is not provable. but it shows other things. It shows that logical systems have less consistency than one might hope. So, depending on your hopes. So, a lot of questions. I'm sorry that I'm going to have to pause from the questions for a minute, and just chat about some other stuff, but feel free to leave more questions. And to whoever asked if zero's even, it is. Zero's even. Although, funny enough, I did read an article that said when there's a study taken that zero is the even number or the number that takes people longest to know that it's even or odd when you ask them. Like if you ask someone, okay, which ones of these are even? 4, yes. 7, no. 0. They did a study that some test along those lines takes people the longest on 0, which makes sense. But 0 is even. It's not only is it a multiple of 2. Oh, dandelion. Dandelion's coming. Dandelion. It's a 10. This is so weird and cool, dandelion. He thinks the 10's so different. Dandelion, come on. We'll see if he actually comes over here. He's right over there. Dandelion. Who is it? I don't know if you can see him at all. Can you see his tail? I want to move the camera, but I don't want to scare him. Oh my god, there's another cat coming too. The stray dude sassafras is walking through back there too. Cats everywhere. Okay, let me try and move the camera so we can get the cat. Cats everywhere. Who's a dandelion? I'm not sure if this is visible at all. Can you see my dandelion? Dandy. Come here. Dandelion. Maybe I need to get his special stick later to lure him in, because he has this new stick that they're really into. It's this stuff called silver vine that is very similar to catnip in how it affects them, but it's this little stick. Candy. Aw, he's going away for now. Hopefully he'll come back later, because now he saw that it's safe back here and that the tent would be a good thing to come into. There are other times where they don't come back here because I'm like blocking off the zone because I'm like shattering glass or something, and I have like my camera people like telling the cats like, nope, you're not allowed to come back here right now. Non-cat stuff happening back there right now. But right now, when all the glass is cleaned up and we got our tent, it's a perfect time for a cat. And like I mentioned, when I did camp in this tent in the front yard, both of the cats, I didn't have 3 back then, Stray hadn't snuck his way in, but Sage and Dandelion both at different times slept with me in the tent. It was super good. I actually, just for the refreshing feeling of being out there, and honestly it was during a kind of dark time in my life and I was trying to quit alcohol and a bunch of stuff, it was very helpful for my mind to sleep out in the front yard in a tent, even though I had a room in the house, to sleep in the yard and to wake up with the birds. And I would often get a cat in the night, which is really nice. And I won't be woken by a mouse, because Dandelion will get it. Maybe. Dandelion is such a clumsy sweetheart that I don't think he can catch anything. Sage, the smaller one, actually gets a lot of stuff. Sage is kind of savage. He's hard to control. He can get stuff. But Dandelion's just too much of a clumsy sweetheart. You know the expression, they wouldn't hurt a fly. I say about Dandelion, he couldn't hurt anything but a fly. A fly is about the maximum he could hurt. And that was, maybe that fly would be pretty fun for him to get, but beyond that point. Let's see. I don't know what's up to the dude throwing out Bible verses. If they're just here and there, people can comment what they want, but if you comment them too much more, they will be removed unless you explain an interesting thought behind it and do it rarely. I am not a huge fan of the Bible, but there are good things about it. I am a fan of things that are attributed to Jesus, good aspects of what a human could be. So I'm not like anti-Christian or anything. You know, some Christian people do great things from their love for being similar to this fable of Jesus, who in the fable was a good person. But personally, the Bible has some really messed up stuff in it too. So don't take the whole thing necessarily as your entire guide, because there's some stuff in there that is incredibly messed up. So, sorry to anyone that's scared away. I just got to be honest. I'm not like anti-religion or anything. I'm actually a very spiritual person, and I really like talking about religious stuff with people for fun. But careful with the Bible. That thing has some dark stuff in it. So, a lot of good stuff. And I think we lost the dandelion, so we'll just chill here for a minute. But what we are, and I probably made some people unsubscribe from that thing. I should not get religious in the future, but we will be getting spiritual, and we'll have to talk about religion here and there. So, but remember the important thing, whatever religion you are or aren't, be a good person, you know? The old cheesy golden rule of do to others what you'd want them to do to you is actually pretty good and actually kind of at the heart of a lot of morals. So it's kind of cheesy old rule, but really you're gonna have like half of your morals correct if you get that part down. Doing to others what you want them to do to you. So, let's see. Yeah, someone mentioned that. I don't know if they mentioned that in the comment before or after I said that. That's funny because my stream comes a little after the comments. So you might have commented that right when I was saying it. And someone said we could create a math religion. Now here's the thing, gotta be very careful when you call something a religion. I can imagine myself veering toward what people accidentally get cult-like about, so we're not going to go toward any bad part of that. But I will share many thoughts that could be considered religious in the future, because I do think, not about like any proof that there is some God or something, but very interesting connections and hypotheses that I've found throughout life that I'm going to get spiritual from time to time, and I'm more agnostic. I don't think we need to make a firm rule about things that can be hypotheses. And it's a good point that there would be a split in the math religion between the ones who say math is created or it is discovered. And once again, that is sort of maybe one of those big philosophical questions of life that's not one of the things that you get the answer to. Maybe it's one thing that throughout your life you discovered different hints of ways math might have been created versus different hints of ways it might have been discovered. It might make you lean toward certain hypotheses. And someone says you can get a lot of tax deductions from being called a religion, and I know, and that sucks, and that shouldn't happen. That's weird. That churches should not get tax deductions. Churches should pay taxes. Really weird. So that's part of why I don't want to necessarily call what I make ever a religion, because I'm not in it to get a tax deduction, you know? Taxes should go better places, but I'm not going to scam the tax system by... So, honestly, not all churches, but some churches scam every person in the U.S. by not paying their taxes. So, sorry to get into that. I'm sure I made a few people unsubscribe or whatever. But once again, if you are being a good person, you can have whatever religion you want. There are good people of all religions. So, now to get toward nearer to our end of our stream. I don't know exactly when I'm going to end the stream. So I think what I'll do now is present the puzzle winners to make sure I don't forget about that or anything. And then in a little bit present next puzzle, which will be one that you guys could chew on if you want something fun to think about this week. As another reminder, semi-puzzle-like is the exam I put out on my main channel a couple days ago. Very fun video, whether you like exams or not. And it's not just math, there are other sections. Now that I've put out the video, I will, be mildly more spoilery with it and say that other sections involve an opinion section and an appreciation section. So even if you don't like math, that's a good one to watch. And that's a little test-like, and I wanted to mention it because I'll be putting out the answer video in about half a week. And on Monday or Tuesday, probably, I'll be putting out on this channel solutions to the math parts of it. And don't watch that if you're halfway through the test and you think you'll finish it later, because no reason to rush watching that video. I mean, every time I say this is bad for me as a creator, but it's good for your brain. I'm recommending you don't watch a video. So, I'm in it for your benefit if I'm saying that, because it's not for my benefit. I'm losing a view. But for your benefit, skip watching the answer video if you think at some point in the next year you'll try harder on any parts of the test, because there's no need to rush if you think at some point you'll want the brain challenge. And we will also have fun little weekly puzzles, including the last one, which involved the golden ratio. And for people who want to be extra tuned in to the chatting about the puzzle answers, that is happening on the Discord. So don't put the puzzle answers in a comment on one of these streams. I want it to be a challenge for people. If you don't go on the Discord, it's just going to, for now, have to be a personal challenge. Maybe I'll work a way to make YouTube comments and do it in the future. But for now, you can either treat it, as a little fun game to puzzle over for the week, or you can treat it as that if you want to go on the Discord and chat about it with other people. And the people on the Discord also have the chance to get a little shout out whenever I have time or remember, which I'm going to try and do on each Thursday for these puzzles. And what we have here is the last puzzle involved writing things in the golden ratio base, sometimes known as base phi, or even phinary, which you'd want to I don't like that one because it's written P-H-I-N-A-R-Y because it looks like binary. So it makes you want to call it phinary, but the Greek letter is pronounced phi, P-H-I. So base phi, or phinary or phinary or whatever, is the base where the golden ratio is the base, and you're going in powers of that. You still got a ones place because the 0th power of that's still 1, but the first power of that is an irrational number. 1 plus the square root of 5 all over 2, approximately 1.618. Or in a continued fraction form of 1 plus 1 over 1 plus 1 over 1 plus, and etc. Because continued fraction is actually arguably the simplest continued fraction of an infinite continued fraction you can have, related to the golden ratio, despite not being a transcendental irrational number, because it is the solution to a algebraic equation, is, in weird ways, the beginning or the seed of the family of the most irrational numbers. In a way, it and numbers based on it are the most irrational numbers. And how could you say the most irrational? What does that mean? Well, irrational means cannot be written with a fraction. So the most irrational could be, in some sense, be defined as hardest to approximate with a fraction at a given size. Like, for a given denominator size of fraction, how close can you get to it? Some, like the golden ratio, at each stage of approximation, you're a bit off. You're like, you can't approximate it with a good fraction as easily as some like pi. And that does relate to the numbers in the simple version of the continued fraction, which the golden ratio is all ones. So it's a cool one. And there's Other ones people are mentioning of different things. Oh, yeah, some of these people are mentioning this, like, right when I say it. I need to maybe work on... If I had better internet, I could have no delay. And then I could have the stream look okay. But the only way to have it, like, half good looking is to have a little delay between us. And so often people type what I say right after. But maybe I don't know how much delay it is. So here's how we'll test the delay. I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, enter. And someone have something ready to type. Someone have something typed in there. And when I say enter, press it. Then I'm going to say got it when I see it. And we're going to see the gap between the enter and the got it. It's a little game, but it'll test how much delay we got going on. So, because I'm not sure, I'm not good at tech. I'm just figured out how to make the live streams work somehow. So somebody have something ready to type. 3, 2, 1, enter. And now when I see it, I'll say got it. So assuming somebody played along, we definitely have a little delay here. Okay, I got it. Maybe a second. It's hard to tell when it came, but it's right about now a bunch came. Or like a minute ago. So yeah, we got like a 30-second delay or something. So just for you folks to know, if anything really, if a chaotic apocalyptic storm happens where it'll be in both of our areas, then you're not going to see it on the stream until you've already been hit by it. And I do need to work on the internet. That's what I need to work on is, as I assemble a better team, I eventually will have the funds, hopefully, and the right team people to have somebody else handling most of the tech stuff. I am not the guy for that. I'm super old-fashioned. I like camping and stuff. I'm the guy who talks about math and camps. I'm not the guy who figures out how to make live streams ideal. So I've gotten good at filming stuff. I've gotten good at using cameras. I've gotten good at using certain technology, like instruments. So certain technology I've gotten good at. I've been forced to get decent at the live streaming, but it's really weird. You guys don't know. People who haven't live streamed or who haven't done it and cared about how the quality is processed and when it's processed in HD for the viewers and when it notifies the ones who have subscriptions on, it is really, really confusing to get that all right, to have like less delay, but it still shows up HD, and I've edited the thumbnail in time before it shows up on subscription feeds. I'm not the guy for that job. I'm the guy to talk about math in my tent. So, for now, that's why we occasionally get glitches and we occasionally get those moments where I only have my face on the screen and I'm talking about a graph as if you can see it. So that's why we get those moments once in a while. Now, as for the puzzle, I know I got very distracted. We were talking about how cool base fee is. The puzzle itself was a string of digits, and the question was, oh no, the puzzle was to make a string of digits. You were given an expression that was powers of the golden ratio. And essentially we had, in parentheses, the golden ratio cubed plus the golden ratio to the negative first power plus it to the negative fourth power to the power of some more golden ratio-y things to times some golden ratio-y things. And it was an expression with a bunch of those that when you try and figure out how they all combine, you can write it in base golden ratio. But arguably the more interesting half of the question was how many ways can you write it in the base golden ratio? And the reason there's multiple ways is because in the golden ratio base, if you say 1, 1, and we'll say just for now the number that looks like 11, but it turns out to be true even if the 1, 1's just somewhere else in the number, that means the golden ratio plus 1, the 1's place and 1 of the golden ratio's place. Well, it turns out the golden ratio plus 1 equals the golden ratio squared. So it turns out you'd write the golden ratio squared as 1, 0, 0 in that base. So 1, 0, 0 is equivalent to 1, 1 in that base. And so there are two forms. You can write many numbers would have, many possible splits. ways in which you could write a chunk as 1, 0, 0, or write a chunk as 2 1s in a row. And the more official way, there's no perfectly official, but what's considered the slightly more commonly accepted way is to try and get the 11s out and to try and get it to be zeros. It's not that's the only correct way, but they want, a standardized way to match it up. And so they'll usually put them at the end into the form that doesn't have any 1s in a row, only as the 0 ones, which is kind of funny because we talk about hyper 11s, numbers composed of just the digit 1 in some base. And in the golden ratio base, it's sort of like representations of numbers are anti-11s. Will not have 2 1s in a row. So there you go, anti-11s. That's a whole new one for our hyper 11s. And the hollow 11s that I mentioned very briefly in the palindromic numbers episode that will be coming back. Because the hollow 11s, numbers of the form 1, a bunch of zeros, and then a 1 in some base. Well, once again, it's binary that they turn out to be really important in. The certain hollow 11s are what are known as, when written in binary, numbers that are 1, a bunch of zeros, and then a 1 in binary. Certain ones of those are these super important numbers called Fermat primes that relate to what shapes you can construct with compass and straight edge, among other things. So, about the golden ratio, which I know I'm getting distracted. The cool part of the answer was that to rearrange this expression, and you can look on the Discord for more details about this, to rearrange the expression, there was 132 different ways that you could write a string of digits in the golden ratio that made up that expression. So that's pretty awesome. And often I will go through a slightly more detailed version of the puzzles on my computer screen, but I just have this stream set up on my filming. I don't have it set up to go onto my screen. So we're not going to get too many details. You might have to go on the Discord if you want to see that. But I am going to shout out the winners, the people who got it first. The people on the Discord, the first answer, and we will do the new weekly puzzle after this. The first answer of how to write it in some way in the base was from Kanaton, or Kanaton, Kanatan. And then there was some answers to the bonus where people got further on how many there were. And those answers that got the earliest, most thorough details first were from Sentinel, maybe AV, or maybe like a upward looking arrow and then a downward looking arrow. Sentinel A without the line and V. And from Pokemon Hacks 43, spelled as PKMNHX43, to Sentinel AV, or Sentinel Up Down, and to Pokemon Hex 43. Good job, as well as to Kanaton. Probably pronouncing those wrong, but who knows how to pronounce anything these days. Oh, and we got Domotro 2 here. Domotro 2, are you the kid who called it Combo Class Bonus 2 before? I'm just curious. Because there was a kid who was into math and made a channel called Combo Class Bonus 2. And I wonder if this is the same guy. Because I actually preferred it being called Combo Class Bonus 2. Domotro 2 kind of looks like it's my second channel. And that's not my second channel, for people to know. So just so Domotro 2 knows, the running gag that we did start is that Combo Lords can create any channel called Combo Class Bonus and then whatever extra string. I don't know about channels called Domotro 2, but I'll roll with it for now. And someone's asking, didn't I do a video about that? And yes, if you did want to solve this question on your own, this was last week's question, so it's not, the new one's a little different. But if you wanted to try and go at last week's question, then you would want to reference my video probably, or another online resource, but I think I explained it pretty well, so I'm not the one who invented that, but I think I did a decent job at explaining it. So watching my video would help. That video was called, it's not just about the golden ratio base, it's about tons of others, because it's called how to count in fractional and irrational bases. So someone's also mentioning the Fibonacci constant, which is a further level of Fibonacci sequence where you take three related things and in terms of what you're summing. And the Fibonacci constant is different, as I said, and there are an infinite amount you could have. They are very interesting, and there's also these metallic ratios as names of things we'll look into, that the golden ratio can also be merged into other ones, like one called the silver ratio and stuff. Someone said the thumbnail's out of a horror movie. I just took it like 1 second before starting the stream. I was like, oh no, I need a thumbnail. And so I probably at some point will take a different shot from the screen as the thumbnail, and it'll probably look equally like a horror movie. Now, I'll admit, I don't mind the vibe of looking a little spooky here and there, even though my goofiness will probably override the spook factor, but I don't mind a spooky vibe. I find horror movies interesting in that they can trigger an emotion of certain type of thrill or fear. And I find a lot of movies really boring. I don't watch that many movies. Most movies are like, okay, I'm waiting for the guy to get together with the girl. Okay, I know this is gonna happen. Okay, he got fired. He's gonna get the other job that he really wanted at the beginning of the movie. I know it's gonna happen. Movies can be so boring. So I want a movie to conjure a thrill in me, unless it's telling a really interesting story. Even if it is, write that as a book if you're gonna tell a really interesting story. I want the movie to conjure an interesting feeling in me. And 3 feelings that I like to be conjured in me are, from movies, are laughter. So I like comedy. I don't watch many movies, but I do watch some comedy TV shows. Like I have all the sitcoms that many people consider classic. Those are things I may have seen. Big fan of like Arrested Development, Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Community, The Office. That type of show, I do like humor stuff. I can enjoy laughter. And I do like surrealism. I like the feeling of something weird or fantastical or otherworldly or dreamlike. And I try and incorporate that here a little bit, and we're going to get even more dreamlike as things go on. And, I've pinched myself in dreams before and I didn't wake up, so all I'm saying is you never know. But I also like, as another mood that could be conjured, is spookiness. Now, what I should have brought... Maybe I'll go grab this in a minute. Maybe we have to do it while we're camping. In one of my first streams ever on here, we did a campfire, and I thought it was a good activity for that. I did something that I'm not sure if we'll actually do it today. Maybe I'll just grab it to show you them. But a really fun activity with friends is sometimes a mildly cheesy horror can be funny to do with friends, where you have the mildest amount of spook, but it's sort of cheesy. And so there's something you can laugh at as well. And something that does that really well is Goosebumps by R.L. Stine. Both the TV show or the books, and especially the ones I liked as a kid, were the Choose Your Own Adventure ones called Give Yourself Goosebumps. I was a big reader as a kid, and they didn't have all those at the library, so I would have to buy them. And I couldn't buy much stuff, so I would save up sometimes and be like, cool, I can get another one of the Goosebumps ones. And I ended up, there was 50 of them, so I didn't get them all. I have probably a third or half of them. I haven't read the other half, probably, apart from a few the library had. But I would slowly accumulate those Choose Your Own Adventure Goosebumps. And they have all these different paths, and he always kills you at the end of most of the paths. And there's one or two that are really hard, that are There's Only One Way Out, where only one of the endings is supposed to be a happy ending. You die in every other single one. And the writer R.L. Stine, who I find to be such a hilarious guy for some reason, he's so deadpan and normal that he reminds me exactly of how he would write a character who was actually a monster. All his characters look and sound like him when you hear the description of them, but secretly are a monster. Also, did you know R.L. Stine, before he went by that, his name's Robert Stein, or Bob Stein, you could go by. And he went by Jovial Bob and wrote joke books. I need to get a hold of one of those. So, and then one day he just decides, I'm done making joke books. Switching the Jovial Bob to R.L. Stein, and my job now, my goal on this planet is to scare kids. And he's straight up dedicated his entire life since then to scaring kids. He's written like 500 books. So if R.L. Stein's watching this, give yourself goosebumps. Bring back the choose your own adventure ones. Make more that there's only one way out. So those are fun to do with friends because you can vote on what path to do, and they are a little bit thrilling enough that you can like try and convince yourself to ride along with a little spook or thrill. Mostly they are pretty clunkily, cheesily written, and they're kind of comical how they describe scary stuff. So you get more laughing at them than you get spooked by them, but they're still fun to ride along with the story. So if one or two other people other than Magic Fellow request, we could do Choose Your Own Adventures in a bit, but I would have to run inside and grab them. And let's see what else we got here. We got some cool decimal expansions that relate to Fibonacci numbers, and that will probably be a whole episode sometime. The reason why those do that. So to anyone who's curious what that person means with those fractions, type in those fractions and then look for the Fibonacci sequence in it. So someone says they just watched my short about 7-Eleven and stumbled into here, down into the combo rabbit hole. Well, I wish it was light enough back there to show you my billion clocks, and then you'd think I was even crazier. But we're just going camping tonight. So, let's see. Someone mentioned they don't think I ever got to transcendental bases. I actually did briefly mention that transcendental bases, such as pi was my example, wouldn't work well. A transcendental base is only going to be good at expressing powers of itself. So I did a really brief example where I was like, base pi was highly requested, but it's only good at describing certain relationships of circles, and there's no other use for base pi if you want to use integers, because any transcendental base is guaranteed to need an infinite non-repeating string for any other integer. So maybe we'll get the Choose Your Own Adventure book because people said they were fun. And if they mean when I did that in the earlier stream, you folks who were there for that are OGs for being back. You are OG combo lords. You know, everything in combo class is new-ish, but those who watched one of those earlier streams, that's dope. And someone's noting that base E is very important in calculus. And yes, E is a transcendental base. And logarithms with a base of E is very important. But actually talking about base E using writing strings of digits in base E may come in handy, but more often the first time you'll see something called base E, note that it's not usually meaning a whole string of digits. It's meaning a logarithm that the base number is E. But you could write things in base E to express certain growth rates possibly, so I haven't fully looked into base E and ways it could help us with things like certain rates. And pi and E do have relationships with I, because I is on the unit circle on the complex plane along with the numbers 1, -1, and -I. And so you got something circular there. If you go from the point 1 and you go a quarter turn circle, you hit the point I. Now, if you go from I, and you rotate a quarter turn, you get to -1. So E turns out to be a fundamental like stabilizer, growth ratey thing. We're going to go more into Euler's identity in a full episode sometime, but basically E sneaks in there because it keeps everything natural and neutralized. Pi sneaks in there because of the circle. -1 ends up there with I because we've kind of rotated it. We've kind of gone like, you know, on the complex plane a bit, over to where -1 is. And yes, there is also transcendental meditation, someone's mentioning. which could, be tied to transcendental numbers. Maybe if we do a transcendental number-based episode, we'll have to try transcendental meditation. So, all of these topics will probably come up. I have so many topics that I do want to do in the future, and some of the ones that have been mentioned today are on that list. Now, in one of our first episodes that's mathy in grade -2, I'm going to show you guys something unique that is just one way that I put together some stuff that I'm sure other people have had similar thoughts at some point. It's relatively simple, but a certain way that I'm going to phrase stuff where we take the number 1 and we whip up with a few simple tools that we're allowed to do in a string. We whip up from the number 1 the natural numbers, the triangular numbers, the factorials, the harmonic series, a bunch of different stuff. And we're going to whip up from the number 2 the evens, the powers of 2, a bunch of stuff like that. So there's these little simple rules I made that can create little, whole sequences out of a little thing and turn a sequence into another sequence. And so the first one is going to be sort of like stirring a cauldron of the number 1 and cooking up a potion that turns into other types of sequences you're already familiar with. And I think it's going to show you, it's definitely going to have to relate to Pascal's triangle because some of the numbers we whip up relate to that. And it's also going to relate to what I call, or in my head I think of as hypertriangular numbers or metatriangular numbers, or nicknames I've just in my head thought of as these numbers that show up on Pascal's triangle in these diagonal rows that are like the numbers that would be a 4D triangular number, a 5D triangular number, and so on. A lot of people don't realize that Pascal's triangle has triangular numbers in it. It's triangular in 2 ways. So we will have a bunch about triangular numbers next grade. I love them. And there'll be episodes about them and their friends, the polygonal numbers. But they're going to have to make a little preview in one of these first episodes of grade -2 where we whip up some sequences to show you things like how triangular numbers and factorials are sort of secretly cousins. A different way we could take the natural numbers down a certain path to hit the triangular numbers, and if we go down that path twice, we hit the tetrahedral numbers. And what if we didn't start on the naturals? What if they are a step deep already? What if we had started before the natural numbers and they were one of the steps that got created and got whipped up? Someone's wondering if I would consider powering the background clocks. I would need a really, really cool clock for me not to make it stop running. Any clock that is not incredibly awesome the way it turns, like it needs to have like a fountain or something inside it if I'm going to keep it running. Clocks here, if it's moving, it might tick. It might make continuity weird if I'm filming. It's going to keep changing time, and most importantly, it will be never right because it's going to be ticking forward at probably the right rate and probably slightly off. And so it's going to arguably never be on time, whereas my stopped clocks are each right twice a day. So the more stopped clocks we get, the more often in the day we're right. And I want to remind people that a fun game in the streams, or even in the videos, that is a fun thing to keep your eye out for. If you're watching a stream and you're bored, this won't work today because the clocks are too dark, but do any of the background clocks ever show the time it's at where you are, or where it is for me? If you ever see the time where it is for you or for me on the clock that stopped, let me know. And yes, we will eventually look at Pascal's pyramids and other dimensions, but Pascal's triangle itself is multidimensional in a way, because the numbers in it describe multidimensional triangular numbers. So it'll take a few layers of multidimensionality before we need to even get to Pascal's pyramid type stuff. We will start with whipping up some numbers from scratch. That will introduce us to a bunch of them and refresh some stuff. Show you things again about how triangular numbers and factorials, where they come from and how they're kind of cousins. And the other thing we'll look at later is all about polygonal numbers. And when we get there, not only are we going to see how triangular numbers are super cool, how pentagonal numbers are pretty cool too, how you got your hexagonal numbers and stuff, but how square numbers are one of those. We think of square numbers as their own special important thing. Square numbers are the numbers you get when you make the exact same pattern that triangular numbers have, but for a four-sided shape instead of a three-sided shape. In fact, as I will show you in this episode, there are ways in which we could see square numbers as a lucky simplification of a general formula for what are known as polygonal numbers, where square numbers, when the side happened to be 4, got so lucky that the formula simplifies to x squared. So we just think, oh, of course numbers in a square is it times itself. There are very simple logical reasons for that, but maybe there's also ways. There's whole formulas for whole families, and 4 got lucky. So I'm really excited about those episodes. And did I adjust them for daylight savings? That would be a good gag. I definitely need to one day do like a short or something where I'm turning all of the stopped clocks forward an hour. Now, what I really want is backward running clocks, because a stopped clock's right twice a day. A clock running backwards at the normal speed is right 4 times a day. If you don't believe me, think through it. It is true. A clock running backwards at the normal speed is correct 4 times per 24 hours. So that's what I want, backwards clocks. If somebody gets me those, I will have a running clock. Now remember, I got a new mailbox, so people can send me stuff if they want to see it in grade -2. The address is in some of my descriptions. Also a link to a little short video to watch, just to make sure what you're sending follows the guidelines and stuff. Probably will, if it's what I'm about to describe. If anyone somehow makes a backward running clock and sends it to me, you will have the first running clock in the classroom, and I will give you a shout out for sure. You will have the only running clock in the classroom. I'm not going to put a forward moving clock. I will consider a forward moving clock to allow it to keep running if it is going at more than twice, or we'll say at least twice, the speed of a normal clock. So if your clock is going twice as fast as a normal clock, faster than that, or backwards, then I won't rip the batteries out. So someone's mentioning that they had a P.O. box and they wanted 333, but at least they got 7 cubed. And yeah, my one happened to be a prime. That's pretty neat. So we got number 401, which is a prime. And yeah, if people would like to send anything there, I will check that mailbox every few weeks. And remember that I won't show any names on the outside of anything, but if you send me something cool and you want me to shout you out, you can put a name on the inside. And what about a 24-hour clock? I will definitely get one. I probably wouldn't keep it running, but I am down with the 24-hour clock. My main thing about the 12 hours that makes no sense is why they don't have a 0 on top. Someday, I'm going to go through most of the clocks back here, and I'm going to replace the 12s with 0s. Don't know how I'm going to do it. Gonna find a way. The 12s at top of the clocks are gonna be 0s. Maybe I'll leave a few as 12s. But honestly, that is probably one of the first type of merch items I will sell, will be clocks that have 0s on top. And that's actually what I've thought is, if you need an identifiable combo class logo, someday we'll design a clearer version of this, because in the combo class burning clock that I often use for stuff that's the main channel logo, it is a clock with 12 on top. It's a real clock that was on fire, and it had a 12 on top. But someday I will have a good logo that has really what the combo class logo should look like, is a burning clock, a clock on fire, but it has a 0 on top. I feel like a burning clock with a 0 on top is a clear enough symbol that you'll know we're talking about combo class. So maybe someday I'll put that on a shirt or something. But I don't know, if I sold any type of merchandise, maybe I would sell some cool shirts, but I'd be most interested in trying to find a way to make like something cool and interactive, or some cool kit of dice or something like that. Someone's asking how often a 10-hour clock is right, and that's a good question. I'm not going to calculate that right now, but if somebody wants to think on your own, it's a great question of when certain clocks would line up. And that will probably show up in a future episode, because I will sometime design clocks for all the mods. We're going to have a clock that its only hours are 0 and 1. That's mod 2. We're going to have a clock that's only hours are 0, 1, and 2. That's mod 3. We're going to go all the way up to maybe mod 16 or so. Maybe no. We're going all the way up to mod 24. We're going to have modular clocks in some season. Might not be in the early grade -2. Might be in late grade -2. Might be in grade -3. But someday we're going to have a wall for my modular demonstrations where we're going to have clocks of each mod. We also probably will have written under those, just for little help, a reminder of the addition table and the multiplication table in that mod, because those are going to be useful. Now, I'm having a lot of fun out here, and I might continue this stream for a while. But I also, at some point, am going to drop that puzzle. So, at some point, the Magic Fellow, who's going to put that on the Discord, if you have to go at any point because my stream's super late, let me know in the chat, and I will introduce the next week's puzzle, and you can pop it on the Discord. Otherwise, I will do it, whenever closer to the end. But let me know, Magic Fellow, if you want to post that at some point, and I can weave that in. For now, I think that since this is nice, I'm going to get a slightly better setup with the light and the angle and stuff, and we're going to hang a little longer. And I have to go to the bathroom real quick. I do live close enough to my house that although it feels like an abandonment of camping, I am not going to pee in the outside of the tent somewhere, because, when you're camping, you got the whole woods. My yard is small enough that there's nowhere that I could just take a leak right here and have it be sure to not affect my life in the future. So I am going to use the indoor bathroom to take a leak, and I'm going to get a Goosebumps book. I don't know if we're actually going to do it. If people want to do a silly choose your own adventure, let me know in the comments. I'm going to bring it just in case. So 10-hour clocks is good, and if anybody wants, here's a good challenge in the meantime. If you folks want something to chat about here, apart from, you can chat about your own things you like or hate about camping. But one thing to chat about is, what about other types of clock? Who says it's got to be 10? How often is an 8-hour clock right? How often is a 4-hour clock right? So leave some comments if you notice any of those patterns, and note that we do have to describe whether we're talking about just the hour number being right and we're saying out of 12, or whether we're factoring in AM or PM. So just be clear which one you're saying. If you don't say 24, then we might assume you mean when is the number right, but you could also be saying when is it right in the AM PM context. So for everyone who's joined right now, I feel like a bunch of people just joined after I'm going to get the Goosebumps. We got fans for it. I need to hit the bathroom anyway. I will be back in 3 or 4 minutes with that Goosebumps, and for now, leave some comments about how often each mod of clock smaller than 10 would be correct in comparison to a 12-hour or 24-hour clock. Still mud in the darkness. We didn't get rain today, but it's still muddy back here. Now, I did bring Goosebumps, and I did also bring a fun little thing that changed my mind, folks. We're going to do a tiny little campfire. So, I tried really quick to light a little stack of wood here earlier when I was setting up the tent, and I wasn't too attentive to it and didn't make a whole fire. But I have some logs semi set up here, and although I don't think they're going to get lit while I don't put too much effort here in the darkness, I don't have much small kindling because I have these bigger logs, and then all of the little sticks around here that I normally would use for kindling. Oh, I'm like pitch black. All the sticks around here I would normally use for kindling are wet because it's been raining. So putting in the sticks around here will actually be detrimental to it. It's going to have these little soggy things in there. So I'm just going to put a little paper and cardboard, and we're just going to have a miniature campfire. And then we can consider if we want to choose any of our own adventures. If we do, the choose your own adventure I brought is R.L. Stein's The Creepy Creations of Professor Shock. Now, I always am mildly worried about getting in trouble for some copyright related thing, and I'm a little worried if I read too much of this that like somehow Scholastic would get mad at me or some book publisher, because they can be sort of annoying, but not Scholastic. I don't know, but book publishers in general. If any book publisher is reading this and I read the book, I support buying books. I've bought tons of books. I'm going to get my readers to buy tons of books over the time. Oh, hey, Dandelion's coming. So, come on, book publishers. I'm on your side. I'm just going to read previews here and there. Dandelion. That's a dandelion. Oh, that's a good dandelion. You want to go in the tent, Dan? You can go in the tent. It's cool in there. Oh, yeah, Dandelion's going in the tent. I don't know if you guys can see him, but it's a little dandelion in the tent. I need to get some footage of that real quick on my phone. So even if you can't see him well, I'll get a little footage for the finale. Dandelion. You like the tent? Dandelion. That's a good boy. Oh, sorry, I'm taking a cat break. I want to make him comfortable here, because if Dandelion, I know you can't really see him maybe, if he hangs out here, that'll be so nice. I want him to keep hanging out here. Can you see my Dandelion at all? That's a good boy. Dandelion. You should sleep in the tent with me. I don't know if you folks can see him at all. Okay. I'm going to get... Okay, let me point you toward him. That's a good boy. Who's a good dandelion? Okay, I'm going to go in the tent and try and point you toward where you can actually see us and lure Dandelion in, because he's such a good soft boy. I know you can't see him, but once I can get him comfortable and in here, it'll be so worth it to have a fluffy little Dandelion by here. He's the best little fluffy boy. Okay, so this is not the most visually stimulating stream due to the darkness, but kind of interesting. It's our version of a strange experimental, not really a film. We'll save the title film for my finale episode or something. But we got our little chaotic campsite stream. So, let me take a peek at our chat. Thank you all for sticking around and joining me here. We got a lot of cool, interesting comments going back. Ooh, yes, lots of cool comments. And all right, so someone else says the YouTube for Kids channel reads Goosebumps books on YouTube. And yeah, I bet there are channels to do. I am going to read a little bit of it in a second, probably. There's Dandelion. So I probably am going to read some of it in a minute. But I'm not going to read the whole book just because I don't want any chance of any publisher or anyone getting mad at me. I think that's highly unlikely. But copyright's so weird these days, and normally my content is completely original, so it'd be really ironic and annoying if my copyright or my material out of everyone's got that thing where creators get in trouble for using 1 second of someone else's thing. If that happened to me, that would be pretty ironic and bad, because all of my content is usually self-created, but on streams it's fun to reference things. I even was thinking at some point of streaming on Twitch so I could do more commentary type things and show other people's videos, and then I wouldn't worry as much if they took down my channel there, because I don't want them flagging anything on this channel. So I will read Little Goosebumps in a minute if people do want. The one I brought, The Creepy Creations of Professor Shock, should be good. They always have a number of interesting little stories and stuff in them. And Dandelion, you're all the way on the other side. Come back around this way. Where'd you go, Dandy? Here you are. Dandelion. Where'd you go? There you went. You snuck all the way around there. That's a He's so curious about the combo classroom shift because he was used to it being one way, and now everything's different. That's so crazy. Oh, I'll be so lucky if Dandelion sleeps in the tent with me. That'll be so chill. Come on, come in. Yeah, it's a good tent time. Yeah, it's a good little tent. Okay, sorry that you guys have to watch the process of me trying to lure Dandelion in here, but it's a crucial factor to if I get a good night of sleep or if I get an awesome, absurdly majestic night of sleep from my Dandosaur's help. Having a good pet can be very helpful. I've had many mental issues in the past, and at risk of sounding like I'm over-exaggerating things, but I'm not, these cats have possibly saved me at times, and there could be arguably no combo class if these cats hadn't been there to motivate or encourage me. So they're going to get a big shout out in the finale too. And yes, if some random people show up, they're like, oh hey, what's with the half beard? So yeah, the half beard I can't explain again, but we shaved half of it. It's just for the month. I've said why a couple times, but for now we're just rolling with it. This is how I am for the month. Now I've been forgetting. I was out in public all day today, out at the marina, and I keep forgetting that I have this insanely dirty lab coat mixed with half a beard and half hair. And I bet you when I'm walking by people, they're like, okay, don't make eye contact with this guy. This guy is deranged. Because I was just wandering around, interacting with all the wildlife, looking insane probably. But if you knew me, you'd know I'm secretly a sweetheart. You know. My only villainy will be tricking everyone to like numbers. Ha ha ha. Which is sort of villainy. I feel like some kids, I am the villain because they go on the shorts page, and I get some comments that are like, no, why is math on my shorts page? And then there's some that are like, no, I didn't want to like this. It's about math, but it was interesting. And that's the trick. Once you find enough exceptions to thinking that math's boring, you'll realize, oh, wait, there were so many exceptions that maybe it's just not boring. And that's a topic I'll go into more in some writings and thoughts in the future about ways to make math interesting to other people who don't find it interesting. And I think part of it is that some people do. Almost everyone has some ways they secretly find math intriguing. And maybe it's a lucky number trick that the 9 can do, like a guess a number trick people find interesting. Maybe it's something related to infinity, or like my does 1 divided by 0 equal infinity video did so well, probably because people had that same thought before. And so there's enough exceptions in different people that if you kind of combined a lot of the cool things in math, like I try and do, and show people all of them, maybe by the 10th time they're like, okay, that was cool about math. Okay, that was cool. They'll end up liking it. And of course, it's not just about math. Math is what I'm knowledgeable in, and I am biased toward it, but I also love all sorts of sciences, and that is sort of true for other things as well. So, good to encourage exceptions to whatever you find boring, and maybe eventually you'll expand to somewhat understanding why one might find that interesting. And I don't think I was able to answer all of the comments, but I do appreciate them all. Very nice and awesome. We've had a very long stream today, and I'm not sure how long we're going to go, but since I said we were going to, let's light a tiny fire and then maybe do a little choose your own adventure. Now, this is going to be a tiny fire probably. There's most likely chance is that this fire is going to burn as long as I put cardboard and paper in it, and it might not catch any of this wood. However, because I don't have any good kindling or small sticks. However, we'll see. Maybe it'll catch a log or two. And someone asked about combo class astronomy. And yeah, that's the type of thing where if I ever had access to a cool telescope that I could use footage from, I would make a episode about space in a heartbeat. But it's the type of topic that I think could use visual real demonstrations. So I would like to be using a real telescope when I make that episode to have good visuals. So certain things like that, a lot of, oh hey, Dandosaur. Yeah, it's a little dandelion. He's back. So, yeah, this is papas. So, okay, sorry, I keep getting distracted by Dandelion. I love him so much. He's so good. Okay, you guys will understand when I show you more pictures of Dandelion's technique and videos where he's simultaneously a really nice and soft and cute guy and really funny and silly. He will make me laugh when I'm in a dark mood because he'll like something just so purely silly about him. And he does this technique when he wants pets. That's the silliest looking thing ever. Oh, he's going back in the tent. Where he'll stretch out with his belly up and all his limbs in the air and his belly facing you. And he'll even run in front of you and then stretch out like that. And if you don't pet him yet at that point, then he will do the longest stretch you can imagine. He will get as long as he can with his belly facing upward because he's somehow correlated that gets him more pets, that the stretch technique works. It's like, why would a cat go long in nature? I don't think he genetically knows that long gets you pets, but somehow long always makes him get pets, and he's correlated it, and he's learned the technique. So, I know our stream is quite chaotic looking. This is going to be a very weird looking stream. I am also, when I light this fire, just in case it looks cool at all, which it'll look pretty mild probably, I'll set up my phone going, filming as well. I got a little phone tripod here, just in case any of the footage sneaks its way into the finale. Okay, so I know you can't really see any of this yet. Once this fire is lit, we're gonna have like a few minute window where I can put this camera anywhere and you can actually see it. Right now, I didn't realize how limited this lantern's span is. So like if you're facing right at the lantern, you can see something. But like this camera mixed with being a little further from the lantern is not a workable combo. The camera being close to a dandelion is a very workable combo. So, I'll wait a minute to see if Dandy wants to keep hanging because the fire will definitely make him go away. He's smart. He's not going to go in the fire. But I don't want to make the fire to scare him away if he was going to be in my tent. So sorry to all the fire fans. You're going to have to wait until Dandelion decides if he wants to settle in the tent or go somewhere else. And right now I'm giving him a lot of pets. So maybe what I'll do for now is while I'm petting Dandelion, consider... Oh, where are you going, Dinosaur? Okay. Consider doing a little bit of the Choose Your Own Adventure book I mentioned that some people were requesting. Although it takes a little while at the beginning to go all the way deep in there. And whoever really wants to know about the beard in the comments, you can, if you want, watch the beginning of this stream or the last streams. I give some sort of brief explanation. There's not some incredibly deep reason. It's because I wanted to half shave my beard, and I thought this was the mathematically way to half shave my beard. Interpret that as you will. It was a decision to have half of me resemble the first part of the grade and half of me resemble the last part of the grade. So we have a little combo of both sides that you might see of the Domotro. Because I'm going to look more like this side, the shaven side, starting in grade -2 for a little bit before it grows out again. And right now I look like that side. So right now I get a little mix of them. And yes, it's also somewhat just a gag of a strange way to interpret half cutting your hair. So next time what I'll do is probably something just as chaotic, but maybe I'll shave an opposite side of the head and the beard. So hanging out here, we can do a little bit of this Goosebumps people requested, but we're just going to do one ending. So maybe 2 endings. So whatever people vote for as the path is the path we're going to do. Now, let's get this back on a spot where it's going to face me well. My Dandelion's just wandering around, so I don't know what his story is. Okay, so let's see if this illuminates me in the front, if that works at all. And we are going to... No, it doesn't illuminate it at all when it's there. Let's see. Oh no, wait, so I have a delay. It's you know that 30-second delay we have? That makes it kind of hard to see what it looks like currently for me, because I'm seeing what it looks like for you folks instead of what it currently looks like for me. I guess I could have either of those on. I'm going to turn what it currently looks like for me instead of what it's looking like for you. So now I can actually see where our light is. There we go. We're going to have enough light to read something spooky. This is kind of spooky because here I look more like the normal clean-shaven side. And then I'm like, or am I? So I feel like I spooked a lot of people when I was wandering around today when they saw half of me. And then they like see the other half and they're like, whoa. Whichever half it is. Just as spooky if you just see this half. And then you're like, Whoa. So, hopefully, my friend who said that she could try to can fix it so that whatever the shortest part right here is how long all of it is. We'll do that at the end of the month. I'm not big on fashion though, so I don't really care how it ends up looking. I kind of purposefully get it cut shorter than I like and then let it grow until it's practically longer than I like, because then you get to ride all corners of the wave and you need less haircuts. So, you know, we can phrase it either as a stylistic choice to go through many fashion styles, or also just because I don't want to get as many haircuts. So, we will see both sides of this in different points of grades. Many grades may start looking like this and looking like that half. And then the very end may be something even crazier like this. And I'm going out again tomorrow night because it's St. Patrick's Day, which is, you know, like a party some people celebrate, some American holiday, or it's not American, but around here it is one of the big ones. One of the big holidays that America does celebrate, although it has more of Irish roots. And St. Patrick's Day, I think it's Irish, yeah. Not positive. And St. Patrick's Day is one of those things where, like, one of my friends is having a party, so I'm going to go out again, and I'm going to look like Chaos Boy, and a lot of people there are not going to have seen my videos, and are just going to be like, what is up with this guy? But that's okay. So, Dandelion is in the corner. He likes being in the tent. He's going in and out, but I think there's a chance he's going to sleep with me in here tonight, which is great. So, Dandy. All right, we're going to read a tiny bit of this. Now, let's see. Someone's wondering if I've read the book, give you all a summary, then the vote. I'm not sure what you mean, if you mean to dodge copyright, like summarize it a bit before the choice. I was thinking I might skim through a little bit of the intro, because the intro is always pretty long to set it up. You don't get your choice until you've done a few of the just go to the next page, go to the next page. Then you get a choice. So maybe we'll do that where we're going to skim through the intro a little bit. I will say all the sentences at first, and then we may, skip our way a little bit to the main choice. It will also help us, dodge any chance of Scholastic getting on my enemies list. I'm joking because, well, no, I guess it's an anti-joke. I don't have anyone on my enemies list, but I have an empty enemies list that if we need, we'll add Scholastic to. So come on, Scholastic, we'll be allies instead. We'll go with that. I like writing. Come on. I support people buying books. I've bought a lot of books in my day. So, well, I mean, honestly, I've bought mostly used books, but that still helps keep the cycle going. These I bought new. I bought this new. Way back in the day. I bought this new 20 years ago. So I think it might be out of print, some of the Goosebumps. Some of them I was considering one day, I'll just buy all the other ones and read them when I'm in a mood to flash back to childhood and read some Goosebumps that I didn't have. But some of them are really expensive. They're out of print or something. It's weird. I did not expect Goosebumps to be the book that I wouldn't buy because it was more than $10 or something. But usually I do find all my used books for very cheap, and sometimes I skip buying a book just because they don't have a cheap used one. And textbooks are cursed. Textbooks are oh no, the used one's $300 and that's good because the new one was $400. So yeah, textbooks are, I don't mean the content of textbooks are cursed. I mean whatever market resulted in them costing 7 times a normal book of that length. Yeah, okay, I'm joking about the enemies list pretty much. If I ever went after someone, it would just be to roast them very heavily. I am somebody who I would be ready to dish out some roasts and some criticism. I'm not going to do anything bad or illegal to anyone. I'm a good boy. So you don't need to worry too bad if you're on my enemies list. However, If you gave me the need to, I can mathematically and factually tear down an institution, which I will only do to the bad institutions. But really, no, if I was rich, I kind of would have an enemies list of all of the corporations that are messing up the environment. So there, while it's not good to have enemies, you should. I'm pretty much joking. I don't have anyone who hates me in the real world. I I've fixed my burnt bridges. I have a lot of friends and allies. But theoretically, there are some corporations who I someday could get into beef with, because there are some bad corporations out there. Now, as for individuals, I'm more fond of individuals or groups that are not trying to profit at others' expenses. So, we'll read a quick summary of the beginning of this book, and then we will jump to a choice. And then we'll do a little campfire, because I think Dandelion's vacated, and he's smart enough. I'm not worried about the fire burning him. He's not going to go in it. But it'll scare him away from the area. So, someone says, what about Dandelion's hit list? Dandelion is a creature of pure love, and he might have a spooked list of things that spook him, that he doesn't want to be near, and things that he trusts more, that he is very trusting with. And, sometimes if other people come around and he doesn't know them that well, he'll run because he can be spooked. But if I call him, he will come wherever. If I call him. He's like a dog. He's really good. Both of the cats do that. If they're around, you call them, they come. And Dandelion, for some of those reasons, I don't think he has a hit list. I think he's a creature of pure love. One time, I didn't see this, but my mom saw this. One time, he caught a butterfly in his mouth, and he didn't know what to do with it. He didn't know, do I eat it? Do I what? And so he opened his mouth again after he opened his mouth again and it flew out, still flying. He got, and the butterfly flew back out. He was so gentle at catching it, he didn't even crush the wings. It might have been hurt, but I don't know. But it seemed fine, apparently. So, Dandelion's too gentle to have a hit list. But yeah, I'll I don't know. Here's the thing about combo class. Sometimes it takes a little destruction to have a little growth. Some of my fires are symbolic of, not just that cavemen like looking at fires and their beautiful shapes, but also that fire symbolizes something interesting, a dangerous, powerful representation of destruction, which you normally don't want to do to something. You don't want to destroy stuff normally. So what are the very rare circumstances where you destroy someone or have an enemy or something? Well, it better be for the sake of trying to make something else grow better and bigger. Shouldn't be destroying to have less stuff. But once in a while, it's honestly, to get mildly dark or philosophical for a moment, it's why there's death. You can't have things keep being born, or there's no room. So you sometimes need to destroy things to have room for new things to grow. And part of that combo class thing is maybe we need to destroy some of the traits we associate with the language and change the language. Maybe we need to destroy some conventions people have that they're addicted to. So things like that. And fire can be symbolic of those. And in general, please don't take any of my recommendations to be in terms of thinking to be a more destructive person or anything. People should be less destructive. I go at it extra chaotically because I'm in a weird role of people look up to me as a teacher, and so I kind of want to change what it means to be a teacher or a school. So that might take a little bit of, arguments with people or whatever. In most people's lives and in my general life, you don't need to have enemies. So, yeah, natural forest fires as well can promote growth and be necessary for certain things. There's a lot of ways that symbolism could be taken. The most clear way that we must destroy things to have room to create is about letting things like languages and math conventions change. because you sometimes have to break, what you had for a minute to build a new thing with the new idea. But there's other ways we may take it in the future of very controlled chaos, because, chaos, fire is chaos, other things are chaos, so we're going to try and control the chaos a bit, but even when we bring out the controlled chaos, chaos comes. So don't worry on the long run. I am genuinely a good person who I'm not going to make any enemies. I'm not going to do anything immoral. I have a very, very high stance of moral codes. Like, if I do the smallest thing wrong to someone, I have a very long apology. I'm very attentive at not hurting other people's feelings unless I know I'm like, they're my friend, I can roast or whatever. We have that relationship or whatever. So don't worry, I'm not going to do anything immoral. So someone's wondering if these ideas will be in my book. I kind of lost track of, oh, hey, Dandelion again, of all the ideas I went through. But a lot of these ideas will show up in books. I have a variety of books I'm writing. So like the one about Threvens and Throds is basically pure math with a little bit of fun, sort of fantastical-ish hypothesis stories about Threvens, sort of. So there's a little bit of fantastical storytelling, but mostly math in that one. Other books of mine are fiction, although they have mathematical elements, and they will contain philosophy and stuff. They also will contain, fire and clocks and dice and symbols that I like. I have a technique of combining symbols in a book and in my show that I haven't talked about. I have a very particular mathematical technique of figuring out how to combine certain symbols in books and episodes. And there will be multiple books because I'm half deep in a bunch of them. I've been writing my whole life before I was a musician, before I was a teacher, before I was a lot of the other stuff I am. So writing is in some ways the deepest part of me, and it shows up here. Like my ranting here and my scripting of the episodes relates to my desire and ability to write stuff. So at its heart, I'm a writer more than anything else, more than a mathematician, more than a musician. That's really at its heart what I am most. But I like applying that to talking, to scripting, to various other things like that. I'm also huge into numbers, so a lot of my writing relates to numbers. Other of the writing doesn't, Dandelion's going in and out. He's just wandering in and around the tent. So curious and new. I might keep the tent here a few nights just for fun. Why not? Maybe I should sleep here a few nights. So let's actually, we'll do a quick book and then we'll see if we're going to do a little fire. I'm going to skim through it a little bit so we can do a few choices. So I'm going to skim through the intro a little bit. We're doing, for anyone who wasn't aware, people requested we jump back to something we did a while ago, which is very silly. It is fun, but silly. It's a campfire activity is why it's good, or a tent activity. It is reading a Goosebumps Choose Your Own Adventure book that I bought like 20 years ago when I was a kid because I loved those things. And you guys are going to get to vote on what paths we go down. And we're probably going to die. You die in more than half the endings. Just letting you know. But maybe we won't die. Sometimes you don't die and you get just like a curse for the rest of your life. Some of the endings are like, I don't even know if they're supposed to be a good or bad ending because you end up with such a mild curse or something that it's like super mild problem that like, what type of ending is this? But a lot of them you straight up die. And it's funny because R.L. Stine, the guy, claimed, he's like, I have some rules when writing Goosebumps to keep it safe for children. One of the rules is I never explicitly show a character die. Now, maybe he meant in the Goosebumps that aren't Choose Your Own Adventures. Maybe he was just talking about those. But in the Goosebumps Choose Your Own Adventures, you'd have to be very, very... You'd have to take a very specific, loose interpretation of that to agree that he never kills a character. A lot of the endings are like, you fall in a giant pit of spikes. The spikes crush through your torso, and this is your end. It's like, okay, I guess you didn't say they are dead, but you described the entire circumstance, and then you said it's the end. So, I don't know about the whole doesn't describe things, R.L. Stine. I think you described some deaths, mister. But shout out to R.L. Stine. He's written a crazy amount of kids' books. So we're going to do it, and we're going to look at a little bit of the Goosebumps. It is going to be more cheesy than scary, but it's a good little combo where if you put your mind in the right spot, you can simultaneously be enjoying a little thrill and laughing at the clunkiness of how it's written. Sorry, R.L. Stine. I like the books. I like the stories you've woven. I'm also going to laugh at how clunky you wrote these things. So we're going to skim through the beginning of this one a little bit. This is the one we're doing. The Creepy Creations of Professor Shock. And I'm going to go toward the first bit a little bit. But the beginning, this is just an example of how it is. Like, school's out, you yell gleefully. Leaning on the handlebars of your bicycle, you gaze at your best friends, Jason and Stacy. What should we do today? And then one is like, let's ride around the park. One's like, boring. And as always, you have to make the decision. Now, we're going to go skim through to the choice a little bit because I want to do a few choices. And just in case anyone in the future gets mad at me for reading an entire section of a book, we're skipping the part of the first page, so maybe that gets us out. But basically, we're wondering what we should do after school with our two friends. And it is you. It's second person is how it's written. You're used to first person or third person. This is second person. So you go up to an old high crumbling brick wall that says please come in, but then you look and now the sign looks like it says danger, but it's just loose and flipping around. It's this weird old haunted house, and now here we're going to get closer to the choice. Oh no, see, this one takes a while to get to the choice. So we'll start here though, because it's basically the first page is just saying a long way of saying you went up to this house. You're looking around, and this bony hand clamps around your wrist. Now I'm going to start reading straight from it. And whoever said viewers beware, you're in for a scare. I love their catchphrase, yeah. So, your heart thuds. A fierce-looking old man is holding your wrist. He's totally bald. A bushy white beard hangs down to his chest. His dark eyes squint behind thick glasses. It's about time you got here. I've been waiting all morning. I'm Professor Shock, the old man says. Are you ready to start work? What do you mean, you demand? Pulling away from him, Professor Shock frowns. Aren't you from Acme Cleanup? No, Stacy tells him. We were riding around and saw your gate was open. Oh, Professor Shock seems disappointed. The people from Acme were supposed to clean my garage, she explains. But they didn't show up. Why don't I hire you kids? It's not hard work and I'll pay you $50. So basically we're going to skip ahead a little bit. You agree to clean the dude's garage for $50 and it's super messy. So you're like, oh my God, there's so much stuff we have to clean back here. Now here's where it gets a little toward the choice. Stacy, one of the friends, drops her ring and it rolls in the back room. So we went to this back room that we probably weren't supposed to go to in the basement of this old guy called Professor Shock. Now we're getting close to the choice, so we're going to jump into the full text. You and Jason hurry to the back of the garage. You glance toward the front. No sign of Professor Shock. Come on, you say, let's find the ring. But when you step through the green door, you forget all about Stacy's ring. The room is packed with electronic gadgets and toys. Every shelf and table holds a cool-looking machine. Lights flash, circuits buzz. A blackboard is covered with mathematical formulas. The walls are plastered with diagrams of machines. I bet Professor Shock's an inventor, Stacy exclaims. This must be his workshop. What do all these things do? Jason wonders. You're studying two huge switches on the back wall. One's red, one's white. From the red switch, a red wire leads to the back of an 8-foot-tall copper robot. A white cable from the white switch leads to a high-tech pinball machine. It looks like the coolest game you've ever seen. Okay. This is, you already know you're going to pull one of the switches. The only question is which switch? These characters are such brats sometimes. You already know you're just going to pull one of these dudes' switches in the basement? Alright, guys. Do we pull the red switch connected to the robot, or do we pull the white switch connected to the pinball machine? Leave a vote, and remember that it takes me 30 seconds to see it, so I'm going to be setting up the fire in between. Okay, any votes for any of the options? We got a pinball vote. And let's see if we got any others. We got a robot and white switch for pinball. Whoever said red equals bad, I don't know if that means you want to pick it or not. So say if you want red or not maybe, but so far we got 2 whites and 1 red. We got 3 whites and 1 red. 4 whites, 5. Okay, pinball 1. It's the pinball machine. So the pinball machine goes... Now I am going to give you guys one note, which is that in the future, when we do these Goosebumps, note that they have a structure often. Usually the first choice doesn't kill you on either and sends you to sort of 2 main story branches. Not all of them are like that, but a lot of them have like 2 big paths you can go on from that first choice that sometimes interact or merge. And so usually the first choice doesn't kill you, but more is like what type of adventure you want. So we're doing pinball, and that's sending us to page 15. You decide to try the white switch. You love pinball. Who wants to challenge the pinball wizard? You call and flip the switch. Nothing happens. The machine doesn't light up. There's no noise. No flashing lights. No ka-ching. Nothing. I don't believe it, you grumble, smacking the machine. You're about to hit it again when you see movement out of the corner of your eye. The green door, it's opening. Professor Shock, you can't let him find you here. Back here, Stacy whispers. She pulls you and Jason behind the pinball machine. You squeeze in between the machine and an old dusty mirror lying against the wall. Your elbow knocks against the mirror. Suddenly, lights begin to flash. Sirens go off. The mirror begins to vibrate. Horrified, you run your hands over the mirror's frame. How can you turn this thing off? But soon you stop worrying about that. You got bigger problems. A weird invisible force is sucking you into the mirror. This is funny because the pinball machine has nothing to do with this. It's about to have to do with the mirror, I think. And they didn't really let us pick the choice. We're like, we want pinball. They're like, that means you are on the mirror story. Wind roars past your ears. It's as if you're caught in a tornado. You can't see your legs anymore. They're inside the mirror. You grab the frame and hang on. Invisible forces rip at your fingers, trying to pry them loose. Stacy, Jason, you scream, help me. But your friends are screaming too. They're being pulled in the mirror with you. You're inside as far as your neck now. And then a wrinkled face appears, framed by the back legs of the pinball machine. It's Professor Shock. He peers at you. Help us, you shout. I can't, he screams. I told you to stay away. There's no way out of there unless you find the... Pop. Your hands lose their grip and the professor vanishes. Well, that was bad timing. We had one more word in the sentence and we would have known. God, I hate when life does that to you. You know all those times when someone's telling you, there's one important thing I need to tell you, and the word is... And then they get cut off by some weird explosion or something. Hate when that happens. So, let's go forward to the next page, where we're stuck in the mirror, I think. Find the what, you shout? But it's too late. The professor is gone. The roaring wind stops. You land sprawling on a slick, hard floor. The twins plop down beside you. What happened? Jason cries. Where are we? You gaze around. The room you're in has no doors or windows. The only decorations on the gray walls are two built-in mirrors. We came through the mirror, you say slowly. You're trying to stay calm. That's impossible, Stacy objects. Look around, you order. There's no other way in. And no way out, Jason wails. The three of you stare at each other. Impossible as it seems, you're inside the mirror and you're trapped. Jason jumps up. Help, I want out. Hold on, you call. Don't panic. There's gotta be a way out, Stacy declares. You stare at the mirrors. An idea is forming in your mind. If we came in through the mirror, maybe that's the way out too. Maybe we can escape through one of these mirrors. But which one? Jason demands. You study the two mirrors. The one on your right seems ordinary. It reflects you and the twins. The one on your left is a different story. In fact, you wonder if there's a hidden movie projector in the room because the mirror shows a peaceful country meadow full of grazing cows. Which mirror do you try? Do you choose the one with the country scene, or do you pick the one that reflects you and the twins? All right, voting time. We are going to be lighting this fire shortly after. Now, if the fire for some reason actually lights the bigger log, I also have some fruit indoors I can roast on it. I got some stuff to roast on the fire. I got enough wood too that tomorrow or the next day, this might not be on stream. This might just be in the finale. But I'm going to cook some corn and some mushrooms and some fruit and some hot dogs, some various stuff out here. So, what are any thoughts on the mirrors? Which one we should pick? So, we got two reflections and a cow's. Let's see. Or 3 reflections and a cow's. So, reflections seems to be our winner. So, let's see what's up with our reflections, unless we get a couple cows in the chat. So, the reflections. It's obvious, you declare. We'll go through the mirror that shows our own reflections. That'll take us back to the real world. Are you sure? Jason asks anxiously. You stand in front of the mirror and gaze in. Behind your three reflections is a familiar scene. Look, Stacy exclaims. It's Miller's. When you see the ice cream store, your last doubts vanish. Miller's is in your neighborhood. When you step through this mirror, you'll practically be home. Let's go, you urge and move forward. But as your foot moves toward the mirror, your reflected face twists in terror. Your reflected mouth opens as if you're screaming. You feel your real face. It seems normal. Your mouth is closed. What's going on? Our reflections. They're going crazy, Jason declares. Something's scaring them, Stacy adds. Then she gasps. Hey, look, they're running away. Quick, let's go after them. And get caught by whatever's scaring them? Jason scoffs. No way. I say we stay right here. They'll come back. What do you think? Do you go after the reflections, or do you wait and see what happens? So, this choice is on really if we do something at all, or if we don't. It's like an action we can take or not, kind of. Do we follow through the mirror, or do we stay around? And reminder that I am stuck with a delay. So whenever you're hearing this part of the stream, I'm waiting for the answers to pop up in a moment. We got a wait, and a follow, and a wait, and a follow. We got 3 waits and 2 follows. Run. We got 3 of each. And 4th stay around. Okay, this is really close. We have 4 stay arounds and 3 runs. Okay, so a 4. Oh my God, it's tied again. Okay, we need a tiebreaker. We have stay. We have 4 of each. We need 1 more. Somebody vote run or stay. When I need, I'll be the tiebreaker, but I feel like there's someone else in the chat who either wants us to run or stay. Now, I don't think I would make the choice now. I might even find a dice to roll if you folks don't have a tiebreaker. We might literally have to roll a die. Okay, we got a random one. We got some follows. Okay, some people added follow. We are going to follow. So, we're going after the reflections on page 9. We better go after the reflections, you say. What if they don't come back? Can't go through life without them. We've got to catch up. You thrust your foot at the mirror. It slides right through. A tingle runs up your leg. And then you're on the other side. Stacy and Jason pop through a moment later. The three of you are right in front of Miller's Ice Cream. The sun is shining. The air is full of familiar scents and sounds. We are home, Jason says. This is great. You point to the plate glass store window. Everything is reflected there except the three of you. It's very creepy. We have to get our reflections back, you say firmly. Come on. They must be in the store. But when you enter the ice cream store, there's no one there but the cashier. A white ceiling fan circles lazily. Stacy steps up to the cashier. Excuse me, she says. Did 3 kids just run in here? 3 kids who look a lot like us? Jason nudges you. There they are, he whispers, pointing at a big mirror on the right-hand wall. You run over and peer in the mirror. Hey, you shout. Oh no, it's happening again, Stacy cries. She's right. Once again, your reflections are shrieking in soundless terror. Yours throws up its hands. Stacy's starts to tremble. Jason's puts its hands over its eyes. Then just as before, they turn and run away. Wait, you scream. Lunging forward, you dive headfirst into the big mirror. Jason and Stacy are right behind you. Your body tingles. Then you tumble out onto the wooden floor of an empty ice cream parlor. A moving shadow makes you look up. A white ceiling fan circles lazily overhead. You're in Miller's. Not again, Stacy exclaims. It's deja vu, Jason moans. This time, the mirror is on the left-hand wall. You peer at your reflection, and as soon as you lock eyes, it happens again. The screaming, the running away. Finally, you get it. Your reflection is running away from you. You don't know why. All you know is you've got to keep after your reflection until you catch it, even if it takes the rest of your life. The end. That one was, for one, that was like genuinely a little on the spookier end for Goosebumps. We got a little good thrill out of that, a little more than mockable text. Now, on the other thing, it's one of those endings I was talking about where, is that a good ending or a bad end? It's probably a bad one, but it's like kind of ambiguous. Like, we didn't die or anything. We're just in this infinite loop of chasing reflections. So I guess that's kind of bad. So, yeah. That's our ending for today. We got trapped in an infinite loop of our reflections being scared of us and us being in an ice cream shop chasing them. Very surreal. So that's part of why I like the Goosebumps. They have so many different endings in them that each one is like 20 different stories told way too fast. And so it's kind of fun, like, plot-wise. Not necessarily the language always used, but like how many little stories or ideas they fit in. So, sorry folks, you killed us. So, no, you didn't. You trapped us in an infinite loop of chasing reflections. So, that was a cool ending. I like it. Now, thanks for everyone who stuck around. We can maybe do this as a recurring activity once in a while, even if we don't have the tent. If people request it on future streams, you can always like re-request old things that you like. Like, sometimes people are like, do the graphs or like do the chat GPT or whatever. If you ask me on future streams to bust out the Goosebumps, if I have a campfire or a nighttime thing here, I might be down. It's a good nighttime activity. As you can imagine, it's fun to do with friends at a campfire as well, voting. which we're basically doing here. You are my friends. I mean, I have friends I interact with person to person as well, but you are also my digital friends. So what we're going to do now is light that little fire I made. So we're not going to get too much of it lit probably, but why not have a little bit? First, just in case we get any cool action on it, I am going to set up my phone filming as well in case I want to use any of the footage in our little finale. But of course I will try and point the webcam at it as well. So it's going to be very dark for a minute. I'm going to be pointing you. I can see here. This webcam is not able to see as good as I can. So maybe I need a night vision camera. That'd be sick. So I'm going to set up my phone here too. You're looking at the pitch black, but the spot you're looking at actually is not going to be pitch black for long. Where this camera is facing will be bright and glowing very soon. So where's my other phone on? Huh, that tripod. Okay. So this will take one moment to set up, and let's note that fire, in addition to having many philosophical traits, has a lot of cool and like all that stuff related to chaos and stuff we were chatting about. It's also just a nice looking thing. It was the caveman's version of TV. And nowadays, you know how people like looking at TV. I would like to say I don't watch much TV, which is technically true, but I watch a lot of YouTube, so people like watching stuff. And where's my phone? And uh-oh, we're gonna need that. Where'd the phone go? Where is that? Is my phone inside for some reason? Alright guys, if any of you has my number, call me. I'm not going to say the number though. So I highly doubt any of you do. Where is that thing? Huh. Is that inside? It's going to be really hard to find if it's in. It's not. Okay. Sorry for the little delay. I think I need to run in and grab my phone from in there, because I do want to film our little tent fire in case we get any cool shots I want to put in the finale. And maybe while I'm there, just in case it lights a little bit, I'll grab a piece of fruit to roast on it ceremonially. So even if we're not going to necessarily manage to have a big enough fire right now to roast the corn and stuff that I got, that will be maybe for a night or two from now, we can use a little stick I sharpened to cook a little strawberry or two, as well as some other little pieces of fruit I have. So let me try and get my phone real quick. This will be worth it. We're going to do a little fire and whatever fruits I have. So I'll be back in one moment, and this right here will be lit up in a cooler way than just from this lantern. got the strawberries, and I couldn't find my phone, so I'm having someone call it from in there. So hopefully it's just like lost in the darkness here somewhere and starts buzzing in a moment. Maybe I'll try and call it from my computer real quick. And then we will light this. And we can't go too late here because it's almost 11 here. So I can't be too loud too late. So we're going to wrap it up after the fire and after we announce next puzzle. But first, I'm going to call my phone. And roasted strawberry is good. I highly recommend many roasted fruits. I also got apples and pears that I don't have right here, but I have inside, just in case those help. Oh, I don't hear my phone. What the hell? Where is it? What the... I'm sorry, I need to find this. I will have this lit in a moment. Okay, I really don't know where I lost my phone in the darkness. It is so dark out here that we're just gonna have to skip the phone for now. And I was gonna use it just to film this fire in another way, in case it was full footage. But it's gonna be a very small fire anyway. So I'll just find my phone after the stream and get us a good angle on our webcam for a quick little strawberry cook. And I do have a sharpened stick here to put a strawberry on in preparation. Where'd those straws go? Here we go. So we will put one strawberry on to start, and yeah, I'll keep the green part on. Why not? We got nice large strawberries. They're making the berries bigger these days, and I support it. So here might look pitch black like nothing, so that's why we are going to light some caveman TV. I hope that didn't do anything weird. Okay. And no, I don't want the chat to call my phone. I don't want to put my phone number in the chat. But I'll find it after the stream. It's fine. Somewhere in the darkness out here. And worst case scenario, I'll find it later. We're camping. We don't need technology. Although ironically, I'm live streaming this on technology. Like I mentioned earlier, to those who caught that, this is going to be a very small fire because I did not prepare the whole stack properly, and it doesn't have any kindling or anything. All the small sticks around here were soaked by the rain, and we're not going to do anything good. They're going to, in fact, hurt the fire by having soggy stuff in there. But I do have some cardboard and some brown paper bags and some small sticks that hopefully we'll be able to get one of the small sticks lit and not just the cardboard situation here. Let's see if we can see any of this stuff yet. Oh, we're at the wrong angle, that's why. There we go. So, still not focused on it at all. Can we see the fire better? Let's try and see if it will focus on this somehow. It likes light to focus, so it's having trouble with that being the light source. It's also a webcam I left out in the rain once, so it has trouble with certain things. But it's weird that it doesn't like seeing the fire very much. Oh, there we go. Now, kind of like a marshmallow, we're gonna hold the strawberry in at certain times and then give it a little heat, a little rotation, but not too much at once. We don't want to singe it more than we want to get a little bit of pie-like inside filling. When you cook these fruits right on the campfire, like an apple or a peach or a strawberry or something, they genuinely taste like the filling of a pie in a more natural way. You can even cook like a whole apple or a whole peach wrapped in foil, just tossed in here, and then when you unwrap it, it's literally like a more natural version of pie filling tasting. So this strawberry, we will get a nice like soft warm thing going on. Alright, now we might be able to see it a little better as it's growing. Let's see if I can put the webcam back on here and have it like it at all. Now, when we look at the fire, remember that some of the shapes it creates end up being similar to the shapes we make on graphs. This is one of the ways in which nature and math are similar, is that sometimes the natural selection and evolution in nature leads to the same conclusions, and it's the combustion in nature here, the weird patterns of combustion, lead to the same conclusions that an equation might. So, when we look at equations, some of those weird tangent ones looked sort of fire-like. Alright, let me nudge this part that's burning a little over. Maybe we can help that stick. And like I said, it's not going to probably catch the big logs. This one was lit for a minute. We don't have the right amount of kindling to get a good fire. Maybe this will work, we'll see. Funny how blowing on the fire the right amount can help it, because it likes oxygen. So, not too much fire action for today. Like I said, I wasn't going to do a campfire at all. I figured why not burn the little bits and maybe we'll catch a log. Kind of caught a log for a second, but this big one will be roasted along with the bigger ones I have when I cook all the other vegetables I got, like corn and stuff like that, for an actual full meal one of these next couple nights. I'm going to have a meal whether or not the tent's still here, where I make the campfire legit and work, and make a bunch of fried stuff on there. So, Someone said if I split it, it might be drier on the inside due to rain. That might help. It's mostly the little kindling I needed. I unfortunately right now like have some big logs I bought, but I don't have any mini kindling, guys, which are really helpful. Like, you know, a lot of my fires that are really crazy, some of those do involve lighter fluid just to make the really crazy looking fire. But like this is without lighter fluid or anything. You can tell it takes a little bit of like preparation and care to make a fire, which I didn't really put into that one. And I was missing one of the components, which is you need various sizes of stick. So you need something papery maybe, and then you need in between something papery and the big log, between that you need kindling, smaller logs, which I didn't really have. So we'll do various combustion experiments in the future. And favorite number, we've already done a lot of thoughts about stuff like that, so I can't fully go down that rabbit hole again. I'll just restate without explaining all the reasons why my point that the best number is not something we can quantify, but the most underrated number I will quantify as 6. And okay, best number, I'll say it. Okay, time to be brutally honest. Out of all the cool constants, 0, I, pi, golden ratio, 1, all these -1, all these cool ones, hard to pick a winner, but if I had to pick a favorite number, and I mean like favorite, I don't mean like 6 is the most underrated number, I mean like the number. You have to pick 0. 0 is the winner if you had to pick one, but 1 has so many powers, I has so many powers, so it's hard to pick the best. 6, though, is underrated. So, here, we are going to lean back a little closer to the tent and wrap up our stream soon. This ended up being to be quite a long one. And since we're almost done, I'll remember in a moment to introduce next week's puzzle for anybody who wants to go on the Discord and check out that puzzle. In the meantime, I'm not sure also what types of content I will have dropping this week because I'm filming this wild finale, and that, like I said, it's going to be at least half an hour, maybe an hour long episode coming later in March, sort of like a little documentary journey, includes some field trips and more details about the tent setup and stuff. And so I'm not sure what content I will have ready to drop throughout this week. But you know me, I rarely go a few days without doing something or another. So I'll probably do some bonus videos on this channel this week along the lines of some bonus little topics that I do in one take that some people are like, why didn't you make these into whole episodes? Sometimes there's topics that maybe later I'll make a whole episode, but right now don't want to go through the whole visual rabbit hole of designing it, and I'm like, why not present a mini lecture? So we might do some mini bonus lessons this week. I might drop some more shorts soon too, but right now YouTube I'm more motivated to work on the long stuff this month at least, and YouTube is really liking some of the old shorts still. So right now, whether or not I'm putting out the new shorts, YouTube really likes the divide by 0 and the 7 and 11 have too many syllables and a few of those ones. So those are still going out to new people, which is cool. I will make some more shorts at some point soon though. Definitely in grade -2 there'll be a ton. And additionally, my live streams will be scheduled, so although you don't know exactly when I'll drop all that random stuff, I'll keep you all tuned and posted. I will be still doing the live streams, definitely on Monday morning for me, and on about this time next Thursday, although usually I do it at 6 p.m. This time I scheduled it a little later because I wanted to do the camping stuff. But normally the Thursdays will be 6 p.m. So until about 7:30 or so. This one was longer and later because camping. So time for a little bite of strawberry before we do the puzzle and wrap up. It is softened and the texture and flavor change. It's really good. It's genuinely really good. I was like, what's that weird part of the strawberry? There's something weird in there. And I was like, oh, that's a stick poking up. Okay, so it wasn't even fully cooked, but changes the texture, makes it softer, changes the flavor, makes it more like pie-like or whatever. So good. So yeah, I don't know why people don't do this. It's not like something I read about. I was just like, I have a campfire. I was like, why not roast strawberry? Really good. So, all little berries are good, but the other ones are harder to skewer. It's harder to get blueberries on a stick. Other recommendations I have, peach or nectarine. Oh my god. For some reason, like plums, even though they're really good fruits, aren't quite as good when you cook them. Peaches and nectarines, so good when you cook them. Apricots can be cool too. They change a little bit weird in the plum-like way, but apricots too. Oh my god, you gotta cook those. Now, if you don't, the bigger ones, maybe not a stick, because then it's hard to get the inside cooked. Wrap them in foil, toss them inside. Toss them in the fire wrapped in foil, throw some potatoes in there while you're at it, and you got your food. Then you get, if you want, you get a stick for like the ones you want a little char on or a little direct action. And Magic Fellow says, always eat the leaf. That's interesting because it's not usually a recommendation. I ate a little bit of the leaf there just because it went down. I don't mind the leaf, but I've never considered, like, you should eat the leaf. So, good thought to keep in mind. I will consider more about the strawberry leaves. There are a lot of edible parts people do forget about, such as peels. We will do an edible peel conspiracy one day. And by conspiracy, I mean, why don't people know more parts of the fruits are edibles? So, wrapping up here, we are going, and someone says, imagine a pear. I actually bought pears. I couldn't get the nectarines or the peaches. They weren't in season, but I got pears and apples that I am going to cook on the bigger version of the campfire when I cook corn and stuff. And hot dogs, and we're going to have dinner. I'm going to have hot dogs, corn, maybe potato. I'm going to have roasted apple and pear. That's going to be a good dinner. So, in the meantime, I will see you folks at some shape or form in the next few days. Probably in some bonus videos on this channel, or maybe some more random live streams. And stay tuned to the main channel where the finale will be coming out in a week or two. And make sure you've seen the test already on there. Which, even if you don't like tests, the episode's called I Hate Tests, so I created one. Slight overstatement saying I hate tests, but I criticize them a lot in the episode, so sort of valid. If I had to make it more black and white than it was, and I had to pick like or hate on tests, I would pick hate. Now, something I didn't say in the episode, because I thought it would come off as bragging, but I will note here, I actually did really good at tests as a kid. Like, part of why I think they're fair wasn't because I had a hard time, but because they let me skip class and still get A's in classes. And that other kids had a harder time on tests, and it wasn't fair that they got a B in that class because they weren't as good at test taking. So, just for like a little perspective and on the outside, didn't want to like sound like I was bragging, so I didn't mention it, but it's actually coming from the perspective of someone who was very good at tests, but who was skeptical about their use in society. Someone says, where's the Discord? They can find it, but that makes it easy. I'm not sure what you mean there, but the Discord should be linked in the description here. Unless you mean you want a harder challenge of how to find it. So, and to whoever's asking about the Discord, there's a Discord for Combo Class, which, yeah, is the one linked here, which is run by me and the Magic Fellow who's here, who helps me moderate it. And might add some more moderators at some point to help. But speaking of that, the Magic Fellow will be dropping a puzzle on there right when the stream ends. And since I'm about to go into my outros, let me say the next puzzle. So, I need to pull up my Discord on here because I don't know where my phone is. Oh, that's where the phone must be. I had the phone when I checked the last answer to the shout out. I was like, in tears. I have the answer to the shout out. Oh, there it is. I found it. Okay. Oh no. It was recording by accident for the last hour. Oh no, this is bad. It recorded an hour video, but I can't just delete it because the very beginning was the footage I got Dandelion going in the tent being really cute. So now I have an hour-long video that I need to trim to get just the Dandelion bit. Okay, well, at least I have it. At least it wasn't in the fire or anything. So, looking there at our next puzzle. Our next puzzle is about a 9-digit number that you have to figure out what it is. Now, oh, that's why my phone wasn't ringing. When it records, it doesn't make noise when the phone call comes in. It was recording, so it didn't ring. Okay, so in any case, you see me with technology. I try and run a live stream, and I lose my phone. I can only need someone on the live stream if I'm going to be able to talk and still have a phone. Okay, so the puzzle is, which 9-digit number has these features? It contains all of the digits from 1 through 9. In other words, we could describe that trait as it is a zeroless pandigital number. It is divisible by 6, and it's also divisible by 7, meaning divided with no remainder. And each time you were to round it, if you were to round any of the particular places, you know how with the number I can round the units place or the tens or the hundreds, and if we round them, they round in an alternating pattern. Starting from the units, it would round up, then tens place, if you round from there, rounds down. Hundreds place, if you round from there, would round up. If you round the thousands place, rounds down. If you go onward, it goes up, down, up, down, up, down, for if you were to round each spot. After rounding 8 times, if you were to keep rounding it on each unit, then 10, then 100, it would go up, down, up, down, up, down, and end up at the number 500 million. The 9-digit number with a 5 at the beginning and then just zeros. And the final detail is that after basically halfway of that, after 4 times you've rounded, units, tens, hundreds, thousands, the digits of the number at that point add up to 24. And with those details, you should be able to find the 9-digit number that can do all those things. If you want to see that written down, it is in the Discord, which should be linked in the description here. There's a section in there called Puzzle Discussion, and another one where the weekly puzzle is posted. And you can post answers and spoilers and stuff like that. And if you want to just think through it yourself, then just, rewatch this minute of the stream sometime to rehear me phrase it. And that is a fun little puzzle to try out. As usual, the first couple people to answer that on the Discord, the first person to answer it, and if anyone else adds any exceptionally interesting extensions to it, will get a shout out. And you people can guess up to 3 9-digit numbers, so you can make 3 random guesses. No, I'm basically kidding. But if you wanted to try and get the shout out and it was something like a 9-digit number, you could just guess in the dark and you'd have some chance of getting it. don't try and guess in the dark. It's not going to work. So, or yeah, you never know. Okay, in any case, I think it's about time for me to wrap up this stream. It's after 11, and I don't want my neighbors to hate me. You remember what we said about how I was joking about making enemies? If I ever make enemies, like we said, they're going to be a corporation or something. I'm not going to make enemies with my neighbors. You want to have good relationships with your neighbors. Luckily, I've forged an alliance with my neighbors. It's worked. They, for some reason, aren't mad at all of the clock smoking stuff. But since it's like, it's about to be 11, well, it was 11:11 already. It's 11:15. We're going to wrap this up. And I'm going to sleep in here, in my tent. So, I will film a little more for the finale, maybe inside the tent. But for now, you folks will have to wait to catch me in the next video. Thank you all for joining me in the extremely long stream today. A lot of fun, random camping activities. And I'm looking forward to a weird night where I'll wake up with the birds. So, I'll see you all again soon, or make sure to stay tuned, in the Discord or Patreon or stuff like that if you want to catch me even sooner. And I love you all. Hope you all have a wonderful night or day where you're at. And that is all for today's camping stream.